Chapter 721. Life or Death Battle. Chapter 721. Life or Death Battle, G. Elon quickly said. With your talent and grandma's teaching, you can reach great heaven for sure, and even succeed your predecessors. Thank you, Martial Sister Elon. Mu Xiaoyan wasn't dumb. She knew this was going to be something related to her husband. G. Elon nodded. Xiaoyan, I know your relationship with your husband is very nice, and I don't want to say much. However, today I heard something that I want to tell you about. Your husband seems to have some kind of relation with an outer sect member from Shangqin Mountain, Yu Yen. They were together before, and Mu Xiaoyan looked calmly at Ji Elon. She knew what she was doing. Ji Elon was too embarrassed to talk about abortion, but Mu Xiaoyan knew what she meant. She got up and said to Ji Elon, "Thank you for your concern. Martial Sister Elon, a wife does not speak about her husband's wrongdoings. I know his character. Even if what you said is true, it's the other woman being a SL*T. It has nothing to do with my husband. I come from a medical family. I know about my own husband." Mu Xiaoyan then said, "Martial Sister Elon, to me it's my greatest fortune that I was able to meet my husband. As long as he's fine, I will be happy. Martial Sister Elon, I'm leaving." Ji Elon couldn't believe she had failed before she had even started. "Auntie Lien, did I say something wrong?" "I feel like I put it very euphemistically," Ji Elon said with a frown. The middle-aged woman came out from behind the curtain and sighed. "Mu Xiaoyan is a really good woman. She's loyal and very smart. Her husband is very fortunate to have her." "Auntie Lien, what do you mean?" Ji Elon said. "Elon, you didn't understand what she meant. She said she came from a medical background, meaning that from the beginning she could tell that her husband hadn't done anything with Yu Yen. Yu Yen is still a virgin, and she knows, so she doesn't care." Miao Lien shook her head. Ji Elon said in surprise, "So, if that was true, wouldn't what I said today work?" Miao Lien shook her head still. "You don't understand her. She was trying to say that she never doubted her husband." "So, that's the case?" Ji Elon was dazed, and then said, "But if that's fake, then why did Mo Ing admit to it?" Mo Lien fell silent, and said after a while, "I don't know why, but that Mo Ing is no simple man. Today I saw a sword almost pierce his neck, yet he didn't seem startled at all. This isn't the courage a normal person has." "But Auntie Lien, Mo Ing has no talent at all. Without talent, you can't cultivate. How can an ordinary person be that complex?" Ji Elon was still confused. Miao Lien smiled. "Although I know it's impossible for Mo Ing, not all non-talented people can't cultivate. The founder of the All Heavens sect, Du Duqian, was said to have no talent at all, but he almost broke through the boundaries of great heaven. Mu Xiaoyan is very talented, and she cares about her husband a lot. You should try not to talk about her husband to her anymore." "Yes, I understand," Ji Elon nodded. In the following days, Yi Mo felt that Miao Lien and Ji Elon seemed to be treating him much better than before. Yi Mo noticed this, but he didn't bother thinking why. He asked them some more things. The first question was where the herbs were found. It was either in places with a lot of spirit herbs or Xingjia Mountain. Ji Elon didn't think much about it, but Miao Lien noticed that Yi Mo was asking those things with a purpose. Other than this, Miao Lien felt it was strange that Yi Mo asked where Tai and Ci Hengjing Mosque were, but didn't ask about Kuan-Qian sect. After asking all of this, Yi Mo found out that the hidden sect's land was very big, and there were countless mountains with rich spirit herb harvests. The most famous was Wuwen Mountain. It had the best herbs and the highest quality. However, throughout the year, it was often covered by a poisonous mist, and there were poisonous and ferocious beasts inside. It was not easy to gather herbs from there, but every 5 years the poison would retreat a little for about a month. That was the best time to pick herbs. So every 5 years, the hidden sects would go in and collect herbs together. However, even though the mist retreated a little, it was still very poisonous inside. Hence, people needed all sorts of things to go in, such as anti-venom pills or venom prevention pills. Masks were useless. Poison would eventually creep into their bodies no matter what. There was a limited amount of spots every time. Special graded sects had 20 or so, while third grade sects only had 3 spots. Hearing that the next opening would be in half a year, Yi Mo rejoiced. He wasn't going to do nothing for half a year, and since he had many herbs on him, he could make a few anti-venom pills and go inside earlier. Yi Mo tried for a few days, but he just couldn't break through to stage 6. He was just missing that little bit, but Yi Mo knew it was due to his subconscious thinking of not wanting to cause a big commotion. The slightest commotion could alert the masters there. With that concern, Yi Mo couldn't break through, so he didn't bother cultivating anymore. He went to the Shu Mountain Sword Sects area. "You're Mo-ing, Lulei's friend?" Someone recognized him immediately. Yi Mo scratched his nose. Lulei was just an outer sect disciple. He couldn't be that famous. "Yeah, where is Lulei?" Yi Mo still asked, despite having already found Lulei, who had a bitter face with his spirit sense. The man pointed at Lulei's room. He couldn't bother talking to Yi Mo anymore. "Humph, Lulei didn't make a good friend. That's his fault." Yi Mo heard this and frowned, but he didn't say anything. "Brother Mo, what brought you here?" Lulei saw Yi Mo and asked. Yi Mo smiled. "Brother Lu, didn't you tell me to come and join you when I had time? You don't seem too happy. What happened?" Lulei sighed. "Brother Mo, since you're here, I won't hide it from you. I probably only have 1 day left to live. Those bastards." "What happened?" Yi Mo asked. Lulei said, "That day after you left, Shangqing Mountains people blamed me for not minding my own business. Then, a guy called C. Maping challenged me. I agreed impulsively, but later on I found out that this battle is to the death. One of us must die on the stage." Yi Mo frowned, and Lulei said with his head down, "My family paid a huge price for me to get into Shu Mountain Sword Sect. If I die, my family won't be able to manage that well." "Then why did you accept the challenge?" Yi Mo asked. Even if Lulei hadn't known it was a battle to the death, he wouldn't have accepted such a challenge that easily when he had just joined the hidden sections. Lulei sat down and said, "I was tricked." Chapter 722. Tested. Chapter 722. Tested, Lulei explained. "They came at me pretty ferociously, and because that C. Maping knew an inner sect, martial brother from my sect, no one was willing to help me. Even then, I wasn't going to agree at first, but then I heard someone whisper that C. Maping had just reached the yellow level middle stage." Yi Mo looked at Lulei, who was at the peak of the yellow level middle stage, and asked speechlessly, "So you thought you would be able to beat him and agreed?" Lulei fell silent and nodded. "That Yuyan and Pan Cheng also said some ugly words about me having no balls, so since I thought I should be fine being at the peak of the yellow level middle stage, I agreed. However, right after I agreed, they somehow made it a life or death battle. It then turned out that C. Maping didn't just reach the yellow level middle stage at all. He's at the utter peak of the yellow level, a half-step black level cultivator. I have no chances of winning." Yi Mo understood and asked, "Do you know who that guy who said that C. Maping just reached the yellow level middle stage was?" Lulei shook his head. "I was excited and angry at the time. So all I know is that it was someone from the Shu Mountain. I don't understand why, when we're in the same sect, they actually mislead me instead." Yi Mo sighed. "What can I say? You have probably been cultivating at your family house and rarely came out, right?" Lulei nodded. "Yes, I've been cultivating in Lianhua City all my life, and because my family rarely had people with talent, I wasn't allowed to go out as someone with talent." Yi Mo thought it's because of that Lulei has such an impulsive character. A careful person wouldn't have helped Yi Mo like Lu Lei did at Hang Shui City. Thinking about this, Yi Mo said, I think that since Shu Mountain took in so many outer sect disciples, there will be a second test when you go back to choose some inner sect disciples out of the outer sect members. Yes, there will be a very harsh selection process with tests and battles. Other than that, if you can reach the black level before 30, you can go straight into the inner sect, Lu Lei said. Then Lu Lei realized something and said after a while, Brother Mo, are you saying that someone thinks that if I die, they will have one less competitor? That dash Lu Lei thought that was a bullsh asterisk T reason to harm someone. But Yi Mo had seen similar things happen too much and wasn't surprised. Without explaining any more, Yi Mo took out a curved sword and gave it to Lu Lei. Test this sword out. Lu Lei took it and couldn't help but praise it. Good sword. It's much better than my essence steel sword. Then Lu Lei inserted some inner chi into the sword, and suddenly it made an almost indiscernible hum. Lu Lei felt like the sword in his hand was even a little bit alive. Is this a magic artifact from the forgery hall? Lu Lei said in shock. Yi Mo smiled. Strictly speaking, it isn't a magic artifact, but it's close to one. It's not from the forgery hall, but from now on, it'll be yours. Ha! Lu Lei was dazed and quickly gave the sword back to Yi Mo. Brother Mo, this is too precious. I can't take it. Yi Mo pushed it back and smiled. I have a lot, so you can take this one, no worries. If you cut that sea maping's head off tomorrow, then I'll be satisfied. Lu Lei really liked the sword, so he listened to Yi Mo and studied the sword carefully before saying, Brother Mo, if I had no chance before then with this sword now, I have at least a 30% chance. I won't say any words of gratitude, and I'll accept it. When I met you and your wife in Hang Shui City that day, I knew you were no ordinary person. It seems like I was right. Ha! Yi Mo smiled and shook his head. I don't think you should fight with only a 30% chance. Seeing Lu Lei look at him in confusion, Yi Mo asked again, How many people are staying in this room? There were 3 of us, but after I agreed to fight sea maping, one moved away, while the other rarely comes back as he's gambling all day. Lu Lei answered. Okay, then take this pill. It has the same effect as the black rising pill. Yi Mo handed Lu Lei a chi-increasing pill. Lu Lei took the pill subconsciously but replied, Brother Mo, I've taken countless pills similar to the black rising pill. Usually, only the first one is useful, so it'll be useless for me to take it. Although the black rising pill was expensive, it wasn't much for members of the big families. Yi Mo smiled. This is called a chi-increasing pill, and it's much stronger than that black rising pill. Just take it and cultivate. I will guard you in the meantime. It should take about an hour or 2. Although Yi Mo spoke with certainty, Lu Lei was still a little dubious. However, he ate it anyways. As soon as the pill went into his stomach, Lu Lei felt a strong heat charge into his dantian and meridians. Lu Lei's face started bursting red, and he quickly sat down to control his chi, but the potency of the pill shocked Lu Lei. He kept controlling the power, but more and more power kept welling up within him. He soon reached the yellow level tertiary stage without any hindrance. Moreover, his chi kept increasing, and not long after, he reached the peak of the yellow level tertiary stage. Although the potency was still there, Yi Mo felt that Lu Lei's talent was far lesser than Luo Xian's, and Lu Lei couldn't reach the black level with only that one chi increasing pill. These pills had become useless to Yi Mo by now, so he gave another one to Lu Lei. Lu Lei was already very happy having reached the yellow tertiary stage, but when Yi Mo took another one out, he immediately knew that Yi Mo wanted him to reach the black level. In his excitement, he quickly started digesting the power of the second pill. After 3 hours, Lu Lei felt his body rumble as a strong inner chi rose from his dantian, and he stood up in excitement. 3 hours, just 3 hours, and he reached the black stage. Emo looked at the excited Lulei and smiled. How much chance do you have against that sea maping now? Lulei laughed. Sea maping was merely at the yellow level. He had a new weapon and reached the black level. If he still didn't have a 100% chance of winning, he might as well kill himself. Brother Emo, thank you. Lulei knew that Emo had saved his life, and even made it so that he wouldn't need to do any tests to become an intersect member, because he had reached the black level before the age of 30. He would be an intersect member as soon as he arrived. Okay, consolidate your power now. I need to go back. I'll be there to cheer you on tomorrow, Emo said. Just when Emo walked out of Lulei's room, he was stopped by a green-dressed girl. What do you want? Emo's voice was cold. He didn't want any connections with that Yunzi, because he felt she was hiding something and she seemed too cunning. He didn't like it, and he knew that she had been watching his every move the day before. Young Master Emo, our young miss wants to invite you over for a talk, Xiao Ling said. Emo said plainly, sorry, but I'm busy, move aside. The green-dressed girl smiled. Our young miss could help you to a herb that could recover your looks dash. Emo interrupted, I don't care about my looks. No need, goodbye. The herb is called the Jialan flower. The moment she said this, Emo shook. He immediately knew that things weren't good. Chapter 7:23. See Yunzi. Chapter 7:23. See Yunzi. Emo caught things quickly. The moment he heard about the Jialan flower and his expression had slightly changed, he realized that Yunzi was watching him. Thinking about this, Emo scanned his spirit sense out. He saw that 150 m away in a room, Yunzi was holding a telescope. Emo sneered. She had gotten quite some advanced products from the outside world. The reason he felt something was off when she mentioned the Jialan flower was because he knew Yunzi was testing him. If he was the big bearded man from the auction, he would care about the Jialan flower. Although Emo didn't know what use it had in the ancient martial arts world, he knew it was very important there too. Otherwise, Yunzi wouldn't be testing him with it. Emo knew after the series of events, Yunzi had started suspecting him of being the big bearded man from the auction, so she decided to test him with that precious herb. But when Emo went over everything that had happened, he didn't believe he had made any mistakes. He should be the least suspected person. Why did Yunzi suspect him? Going so far as to test him, the Jialan flower was one of the 3 main ingredients for the Foundation establishment pill, but how did she know he was desperate for it? Seeing Emo stop and frown, the green-clothed girl said, Young Master, Emo, lead the way, Emo said plainly. Since Yunzi was already suspecting him, he might as well face her and choose where to expose himself. Also, there was another important reason for him to go. Emo really wanted the Jialan flower. For their future cultivation path, he had to get the Jialan flower. Without it, he wouldn't be able to get the Foundation establishment pill. He didn't know any other recipe, and his required the Jialan flower. Seeing Emo come over with Xiaoling, Yunzi had a smile on her face and was determined. If I'm not wrong, it should be him. I'm sure he has a lot of secrets, Yunzi murmured to herself and put the telescope away. Young Master Emo is here, the girl dressed in green called out from the door. Yunzi pushed open the door and showed a sweet smile as she said, using a very polite and soft voice, Young Master Emo, it's an honor to be able to see you. Please come in. Xiaoling, pour a cup of tea for young Master Emo. Yes, miss. The girl quickly left. Young Master Emo, it was rude of me to invite you over like this. Please have a seat. Yunzi treated Emo as though he was a very strong qianbei. Emo studied the room. The layout was high class yet simplistic. He stared at Yunzi. He had to admit she was a beauty, no lesser than Mu Xiaoyan. She was tall, and her beautiful hair hung on her shoulders. He could barely see any makeup on her face, but Emo knew she had put on very light makeup. looking at her protruding chest. Yi-mo could tell that she didn't restrain it at all, making it seem natural and elegant. She also had a smile on her face all the time, which made her seem amicable. But Yi-mo had a strange feeling about her. She looked amicable, but it wasn't that natural. Xiaoling brought over 2 cups of green tea and left the room. Yun Du Mountain, Mist Peaks Mist Tea. Young master, Mo, please have a taste. Yun Zi's face blushed a little after being stared at by Yi-mo for so long. However, she couldn't get angry, so she raised her cup and said this to Yi-mo. Then she said, Yundu Mountain belongs to Du Yun sect. Miss Peak is the highest peak. Although I've been managing business for the Magical Merchant Association, I'm actually a member of the Du Yun sect. Yi-mo already knew that Yunzi was from the Du Tian sect. That was no secret. Yi-mo nodded and drank from the cup. He said, it certainly quenches one's thirst. Although it wasn't spirit qi, the tea had a special flavor to it. In the cultivation realm, a good cup of spirit qi could cost a few hundred spirit stones. Even Yi-mo hadn't been able to afford it before. Hearing this, Yunzi opened her mouth speechless, but she soon smiled sweetly. Mr. Mo's critique is quite unique. Then Yunzi said again, Mr. Mo's wife is really a beauty out of this world. You are so fortunate. Yi-mo had decided to keep acting dumb, seeing that Yunzi wasn't saying anything meaningful. Yi-mo smiled. You're not bad either. Yunzi heard this, and her eyes sparkled with anger, but she quickly calmed down. She smiled sweetly again. I heard that Mr. Mo was told to have no talent after being tested, but I feel your temperament isn't ordinary. How can you have no talent? Seeing that Yi-mo didn't say anything, Yunzi suddenly added, Mr. Mo, I have a testing device here. If you're willing, I can test you again. Mine is more accurate than the ones out there. Yi-mo heard this and thought. He really wanted to know what his talent was, and why he was cultivating so slow. Seeing that Yi-mo was interested, Yunzi took out a device from the closet. Yi-mo was shocked when she placed it on the table. It wasn't much different from the device used in the cultivation realm. It had 8 balls. In the past, the founder of Du Tian's test results said he had no talent, but he reached the highest state in the magical continent. Hence, he believed that the device wasn't reliable and went around looking for new ones. He found this in an ancient cultivation realm. Our founder used this and found out that not only did he have talent, it was also level 1 talent, Yunzi explained. Yi-mo thought about it. If Du Tian sect could have such a special device, why didn't the other sects have it? Yunzi explained, this isn't much more useful than the devices outside because people with talent like our founder are quite rare, almost non-existent. Yi-mo nodded. If mutant spirit roots were everywhere, it would be strange. If you have inner qi, you can try putting your hand on this device and insert it, Yunzi said. She didn't doubt whether Yi-mo had inner qi. It was as though she knew Yi-mo had it. Chapter 724. 8-element mixed spirit root. Chapter 724. 8-element mixed spirit root. Yi-mo knew that since Yunzi was suspecting him, she had to have some kind of evidence. But if she was intent on blowing his cover, she wouldn't be calling him there. Instead, she would just go tell the Gemini Sword sect and Forgery Hall. So Yi-mo straightforwardly put his hand on the device and inserted some qi into it. The device buzzed, and all 8 balls lit up. They wasn't as bright as when Mu Xiaoyan did it, but it was still shocking. He had an 8-element spirit root. Yi-mo had never heard of such a spirit root. He had only heard of a 5-element mixed spirit root, but never of an 8-element mixed spirit root. That was simply unheard of. Yi-mo quickly took his hand back and didn't know what was going on. In the cultivation realm, spirit roots were divided into metal, wood, water, fire, earth, ice, lightning, and wind. There was also a spirit root called the dark spirit root, but that was usually born from a specific cultivation method. So it shouldn't be counted as a spirit root, technically speaking. Usually, one only had one mutated spirit root at most. And normally, none of the 5-element spirit roots would coexist with a mutated spirit root. Yet on him, all 8 existed. It would be weird if he could cultivate fast like that. To have a 5-element mixed spirit root was already trash talent, but 8-element mixed was trash amongst trash. Yi Mo didn't understand it, and Yunzi didn't understand even more. His talent was absurdly bad. No wonder other places tested that he had no talent. It was almost impossible to cultivate with such talent. Yunzi started doubting her guess now. If someone told her that a person with that kind of talent could kill a great heaven and injure a half-step great heaven, even she wouldn't believe it. Had she guessed wrongly? She believed that if Yi Mo was the person she had suspected him to be, then his talent should be the same as that of the founder of the Du Tian sect. What confused her, though, was that if this Mo Ing wasn't the big-bearded man, why was his back so similar to that man's? And when he heard the Jia Lan flower, why did he act strangely? Were those just coincidences? As Yi Mo saw her face now, he immediately knew that although she still suspected him, but she wasn't too sure anymore. Thinking about this, he laughed at himself. It's the worst talent indeed. I knew it. Perhaps because Yi Mo turned out not to be the person she was looking for, Yunzi didn't want to keep talking to him. And she was about to send Yi Mo away. But since Yi Mo came out, he had to ask about the Jia Lan flower. Goddess Sihua, why did you call for me? Was it just to test my talent for me? I already knew my talent, though. Yi Mo saw her disinterest and felt contempt. This woman was really practical, calling him over when she suspected him and kicking him away when she didn't need him anymore. Yunzi smiled. Mr. Mo, I am sorry, but to be honest, I thought you were someone I knew, but now it has been proven that you're not. However, I wonder, why did you seem shocked when you heard about the Jialan flower? Yi Mo sneered and said, It's because the flower can indeed recover my face. A Qianbei once told me so, but he said that the flower was very precious. When your maid told me I can recover my face, I didn't believe it at first, but after hearing it was the Jialan flower, I believed her. Yunzi realized that she had indeed mistaken Mo Ing for the wrong person. Yunzi smiled and said slowly, I'm sorry, Mr. Mo. I admit that I used that as a reason for you to come, but the Jialan flower isn't something normal people can get. It's said that those who get it can reach great heaven with a 100% certainty. It's even a spiritual item used to reach above greater heaven. So, I don't have this flower. Yi Mo knew she didn't have the flower, of course. If she did, he would have sensed it with his spirit sense immediately. Yi Mo wasn't going to be happy about having been tricked over by her, though, so his face sunk. Yunzi noticed it and said plainly, Although I understand the flower is really important for you, my advice is that even if you got it, you wouldn't be able to keep it. Instead, you might only lose out. Also, although I'm not super pretty, I'm not ugly, so I don't think you lost out much coming here, right? Yi Mo sneered. Goddess Iwa, you're very pretty, but in my eyes my wife is the prettiest. To be honest, I would rather choose to stay at home with my wife. Seeing that Yi Mo had no intentions of leaving and his words were contemptuous, Yunzi spoke with annoyance. Jialan flower is said to be in the depth of Wuwen Mountain. I have a map of the mountain here. It's yours. Good luck. Then she just dumped the map in front of Yi Mo. Yi Mo picked it up and saw that it was marked clearly where each herb was found. But this was just the outskirts. It had no information on the inner mountain, but this was already enough for Yi Mo. Yi Mo put the map away and said, Thank you. How much for the maps? Yunzi's mouth curled up, and she said with a sliver of contempt, I don't need money. It's for free. And although you have some inner chi, I suggest you don't go there. Never mind. Goodbye then. Okay, I owe you one. Goodbye. Yi Mo didn't want to talk anymore. and just left. Young miss, the green dress girl walked in and looked at Yun Zi in wonder. Yun Zi rubbed her head and said strangely, "He is strange, but he's probably not that guy." Meanwhile, Yemo felt very good. Not only did he find out where the Jialan flower was, he also managed to erase that crazy B***TCH's suspicions of him. Yemo pushed open the door, and Mu Xiaoyan, who was talking to Ji Ilan, got up and sweetly called out, "Husband, brother Mo is back, I see." Ji Ilan turned to leave. Mo felt great. His wife was still the best. Someone from Shangqing Mountain came over and told us that someone from their sect would be fighting with Lu Lei from Shu Mountain. Marshall's sister Ilan saw a stranger come, so she came too. Mu Xiaoyan immediately explained. Mo smiled. "Very well, we will go watch it together tomorrow and see how Lu Lei kills his opponent." The ship would be traveling for a month at sea. For most people, a month was boring and long, so there were many entertainment businesses on board. But most ancient martial arts practitioners rarely spent their time there, so it was more for the ordinary people on board. The death battle was the most eye-catching event for them. Even ancient martial artists liked this sort of fights, and there would be bets placed too. This was not only a battle between those two yellow levels, but the honor of their respective sects was at stake. Mo took Mu Xiaoyan to the busy crowd at the fighting scene. Chapter 7:25. 3 Mistakes and 1 Move. Chapter 7:25. 3 mistakes and 1 move. I know that woman. She is the genius disciple that Ice Lake just recruited. She's said to be the best level 1 talent. So it's her. I remember that day. All of the big 3 sects wanted to take her, but that guy didn't want to, so they joined a 3rd grade sect in the end. Yes, it's like seeing a flower planted on dash. Be careful. Although Ice Lake is a 3rd grade sect, their power is still very strong. When Mo and Mu Xiaoyan came in, people immediately started talking about them. Mo didn't mind, but Mu Xiaoyan was angry about other people saying that about her husband. Yu Yiyan, who was about to go up to Mo and scorn him, stopped. She finally understood how Mo had managed to get there. He was relying on that woman of his. Yu Yiyan sneered. She was about to leave with Shangqing sect members when she suddenly thought of something, and her expression didn't look good. Mu Xiaoyan had gotten here and was Ice Lake's level 1 talent disciple. Then, what about the people Liao Wei had sent? Did he give up after not managing to catch Mu Xiaoyan? Liao Wei wouldn't dare do anything to her due to Shangqing Mountain. But what reason did he have to fear Mo and Mu Xiaoyan? Now that she thought about it, things didn't seem to be that simple. Martial Sister Yin, let's go a bit forward. Let's look at how Martial Brother Sima dominates the stage. A newcomer dared challenge our Martial Brother Sima. He's asking to die. Someone from Shangqing was sucking up to Yu Yin. Martial Sister Mu, you're also here? The new disciple Fei Qing and the other few disciples had also come to watch the show. Mu Xiaoyan smiled and nodded. "Ha ha, big brother, Mo, I didn't see you before, but you're already here." Lu Lei saw Mo and immediately approached him happily. He was younger than Mo and admired him, so he had changed his way of addressing Mo. Before Mo could reply, someone sneered on the side, "You're about to die, yet you're still this happy. I admire your audacity." Lu Lei looked at the person speaking. It was that Pan Chung from Shangqing. He sneered at once. "Okay, then let's fight to death after I fight Sima Ping. Do you have the balls? If you don't have the balls, then don't talk sh*t in front of me." "Ha ha ha, you want to fight to death with me? I want to kill you personally, but you won't have the chance to face me." Pan Chung laughed. Lu Lei looked coldly at him. "I just asked if you have the balls to accept the challenge. If you don't, P***SS off to the side." Pan Chung suddenly started laughing out loud. He saluted with his fist to the people around and said, "Everyone, This guy thinks he will be able to fight to death with me after fighting martial brother Sima. Okay, Pan Chung, agree. But I don't think martial brother Sima will give me the pleasure. Ha ha. Lu Lei ignored him and said to Yi Mo, Big brother, Mo, I heard that everyone is betting that I will lose. Do you want to earn a little fortune? Yi Mo smiled. He really wasn't interested in such small amounts. What he needed wasn't gold coins, but spirit herbs and spirit stones. Suddenly, there was a loud wave of claps. Yi Mo looked up. A man flew onto the stage. His movements were very sleek. He even flipped in midair and landed firmly on the stage. Although he looked very ugly, you could feel his power and control. He was at yellow level peak indeed, and he seemed to be less than 30 years old. I'll go up first. This kid is already too bored of living, Lu Lei said and walked onto the stage slowly. However, his momentum was much worse than Sima Ping's. Although the scene was very boisterous, the real high-level martial artists rarely came to these events. It was more for lower-level disciples and merchants. I heard that Mo Ing is friends with Lu Lei, Yunzi said. Yes, young Mississippi. I saw Mo Ing at Lu Lei's door. They met in Hang Shui City. Should we go have a look? Xiao Ling asked. Yun Zi shook her head. There's nothing to see. It's a battle of two mere yellow-level disciples. Let's go back. Then, Yun Zi glanced at Mu Xiaoyun and shook her head again. What a pity. The battle begins now. A black level guard was the judge. It was a very simple job. All he really had to say was begin. He didn't have to care about what went on in the fight. Regardless of the means used to kill the other person, it didn't matter. Sima Ping laughed and pulled out his long sword. With his current power, he could reach black level any time. He didn't need to worry about a yellow level middle stage disciple. If you call me Grandpa 3 times now and crawl under me, I'll only cut an arm and a leg. Sima Ping mocked him. Of course, I'll have to take your life too. Dumb C asterisk NT. Let's see if you talk SH asterisk T when I take your life. Lu Lei was already holding his sword Ray, and he charged at Sima Ping's forehead. He dared to attack frontally. Sima Ping sneered, but his sneer quickly froze. Lu Lei's attack was too fast. It wasn't something that a yellow-level martial artist could do. Sima Ping was sure that without black-level inner chi, one couldn't attack that fast. Not even he could handle a sword that fast. Sima Ping was immediately scared to death. Instantly, Sima Ping felt cold sweat. He only had the time to raise his sword to block it. Crank Lu Lei's curved sword didn't stop at all and hacked straight down. It was no fancy move or technique. It was a simple hack. But Sima Ping's sword couldn't even block it a little bit. When he felt the long sword in his hand lose strength, Sima Ping immediately knew he was over. In a life-and-death battle, any error could be fatal, and he had made 3. First, he didn't know his opponent's power. Second, he hadn't taken his enemy seriously. As if these 2 weren't fatal enough, the third one was that he hadn't known that his opponent's weapon was an extreme weapon. His sword hadn't even been able to block it a little. Sima Ping felt his eyebrows go cold and horror rose from the bottom of his heart. He had lost in one move. Boundless darkness swept over him. Sima Ping eventually felt his chest being kicked by a huge force as he flew away from the deck and landed in the sea. This happened in a brief moment. Most people hadn't even adjusted their expressions yet, but the battle was already over. It had been nothing like everyone had expected, so the whole scene was silent. The heavily promoted battle had ended in just a moment. How is this possible? Pan Chung murmured. Lu Lei's roar made him shiver. Pan Chung, it's your turn now. You said in front of everyone that you will fight me to death. I'm waiting for you here. You're a sect member of Shangqing Mountain. Don't let everyone think that you're AP asterisk SSY. Chapter 726. Many Suspicious Points. Chapter 726. Many suspicious points due to Lu Lei's words. The scene was in an uproar once again. That Sima Ping from Shangqing Mountain had been all talk. Even the Shu Mountain disciples themselves had to view Lu Lei in a different light. Although Lu Lei used one quick move to kill Sima Ping, and it was sort of a sneak attack, he did kill Sima Ping in one go, and then kicked him into the sea. Now that Lu Lei challenged Pan Chung, everyone looked at Pan Chung. The cheers were always for the victor. No one remembered that Sima Ping anymore. Pan Chung looked at Lu Lei with a pale face. He felt his legs shake. He saw everyone look at him, and he suddenly yelled, "Lu Lei, you sneak attacked him. What are you feeling heroic about? If you hadn't sneak attacked him, how could you have beaten Martial Brother Sima?" Lu Lei laughed. "That's right. I made a surprise attack, so what will you do about it? Sue me for going against the rules? Bite me? Anyway, isn't it time for our death match already? I'll give you a chance to sneak attack me. So come on and stop clenching your balls." Lu Lei's words immediately caused a wave of laughter and scorn. On the stage, no matter what means you used, as long as you could kill your opponent, you won. There was no such thing as sneak attacking being wrong. This Pan Chung was clearly scared. No balls. *SS off. Trash. Scorn and curses came rolling, while Pan Cheng's face was very pale as he knew that even if he sneak attacked Lu Lei, he would be dead for sure. Lu Lei definitely wasn't merely at the yellow, level middle stage. "Pan Chung, if you don't dare come up, then don't blame me for coming down and killing you." Lu Lei sneered, scaring Pan Chung *+. If you agreed to a life and death battle, then you had to fight unless the other side let you go. He just told everyone that he would have a life and death battle with Lu Lei, and everyone knew by now. Even if he didn't dare to go up, Lu Lei could come down and kill him, and no one would be allowed to intervene. Even the Shangqing Mountain members felt embarrassed at Pan Cheng's actions and moved away from him. Pan Chung, who could no longer take it, hence charged on the stage like a madman, but his attack was truly messy. Lu Lei shook his head as he moved aside easily and swung his sword in return. Pan Chung collapsed on the stage in relief. Lu Lei felt like both battles had really not been challenging. If he had known it would be like that, he wouldn't have sneak attacked Sima Ping. At least he would have tried to see what power he now had. No one would have thought the battle would end that quickly, and even Yi Mo didn't think that Sima Ping would be that useless. In one corner, a middle-aged man murmured to himself, "When I brought Lu Lei in, he was clearly at the yellow level middle stage. How can he suddenly have black level inner chi? Did he hide his power before, or did he gain some special stroke of fortune on the ship?" Lu Lei won the match and secretly also won a huge sum of gold coins, so he felt very satisfied. Just when he wanted to find Yi Mo, he was stopped by a martial brother from Shu Mountain who said an elder wanted to see him. Yi Mo saw this and knew that Lu Lei would surely become an inner sect member now. That was quite a high status to have. What? Lu Lei won. Sima Ping at the Yellow Peak lost to that yellow level middle stage Lu Lei. How did he win? Yunzi stood up in shock. Not only did Lu Lei win, he killed Sima Ping with one move. Sima Ping couldn't even resist, the green-dressed girl said. Yunzi frowned. Was our intel wrong? Was Lu Lei not yellow level but black level? But how was that possible? Yunzi had a record of all black level warriors under 30. If Lu Lei was such a person, she would have long since tried to get in touch with him. Wait, that Mo Ing went to Lu Lei's room yesterday before coming to her. Was this related to that Mo Ing? There was no way he could make Lu Lei that strong in a few hours, right? Yun Zi shook her head and said, "Go find out more about Lu Lei. See what his situation is like." Lu Lei soon announced that he had gotten a blue Lu carrot, which had 2 flowers on it. He said he had been planning on using 1 flower at Yellow Peak to reach the black level, and 1 at Black Level Peak to reach the Earth level. But due to the challenge, he was forced to eat both at the same time. Due to him reaching black level before 30, he became an inner sect member of the Shu Mountain Sword sect. It was the blue Lou carrot. No wonder he could reach black level. That's a herb useful even for reaching the earth level. What a pity. But he sure is lucky, Yunzi murmured to herself. Meanwhile, the heads of the big hidden sects had gathered. They weren't discussing Lu Lei, but the clash between the Gemini Sword sect and the Forgery Hall. Both sects had many other allies after all. Gemini Sword sect had many pretty female members, and since they knew some dual cultivation techniques that would boost the cultivation speed of both sides when the members of other sects married the Gemini Sword sect female members, the sect had many allies. Forgery Hall had the support of even more sects because they forged the best weapons on the continent, and most sects would buy their weapons from them. Due to this, many sects were trying to work out a peaceful solution, and so the sect leaders of both parties were still able to control themselves and didn't have any big fights after so many days. Of course, that was mainly due to them having found many points worthy of suspicion. However, thinking about his son's pitiful death, Qi Yoshin almost couldn't control himself as he looked at the vice sect leaders of Forgery Hall, Xia Chongyan, and Wan Haod in anger. Before they could fight, though, a skinny old man from Tai stood up and said, "Sect Leader Qi, please calm down. Brother Ling and I analyzed this over and over again, and even Martial Sister Jie Xian from CI Hang Jing Mosque believes this incident is suspicious. It is due to this that we called everyone together again. This old man was Zhang Chongwen, a great heaven elder of Tai. Everyone paid him respect when he spoke." The old man continued, "There are 5 major points of suspicion. Firstly, that big-bearded man knew that people would be after him after he bought all those things, yet he still waltzed out for the world to see, taking his cart and everything. This was clearly him leading people on a chase. Secondly, that man and his companion somehow disappeared afterwards. Thirdly, Wei Wu should have run away without delay. Why would he go buy a set of clothes outside Hang Shui City first? This was intentionally leaving behind a trail. Fourthly, if vice sect leader Xia really was behind it and got all that precious loot, then he wouldn't have come back to Hang Shui when he was injured, letting Wei Wu do as he pleases in the meantime. The most suspicious point is the last point. Although Elder Ming Jifeng's wound was inflicted by that curved sword, he died to a wound inflicted by a long sword first, and only then was the curved sword pierced into the original wound. I think that unless Wei Wu was an idiot, he wouldn't intentionally fake the scene to make it seem like he killed Ming Jifeng, right? Chapter 7:27. Seem to have known each other. Chapter 7:27. Seemed to have known each other after hearing his words. Everyone was shocked. If what Elder Zhang said was true, then someone was definitely setting them up. No wonder Qi Yoshin could resist the pain of losing his son and not fight Xia Chongyan to death. He managed to injure vice sect leader Xia, kill Elder Ming, and frame the wrong person. Then he took Wei Wu to Hang Shui City and left casually. This person dash, an elder said in shock. Everyone knew what he meant. He was saying that this guy was absurdly strong. Only masters above Great Heaven Middle Stage could do that. Moreover, this person had efficiently left all these tricks and misleading clues, which meant that he hadn't gotten heavily injured in the end. And Ling Wushui said slowly, "I found another suspicious point that helped me confirm that he was the one who harmed Elder Ming. Also, this clue leads to thinking that this person might have come from the outside world." What? Everyone almost stood up in shock. They knew what the outside meant. The magical continent was said to be a world separated from the main earth by ancient beings with unimaginable power, but that was just a legend. Due to countless years having passed, the cultivation world could only cultivate ancient martial arts. But even so, it was still shocking what one could do when, having reached the extreme of ancient martial arts, only people from the smaller world could go out, and those from the outside couldn't come in. Ling Wushui's words meant that now that people from the outside world could come in, and even kill great heaven masters. Elderling, it's not that we don't believe you, but this is too shocking. Another middle-aged man stood up. To them, it was a rather big thing because it was said that the technology from outside was advanced. One bomb could blow up an entire city. No matter how strong their ancient martial arts were, they couldn't beat that sort of bomb. Ling Wushui waved his hand. That is just my guess. Because when Elder Ming died and left the message forgeried behind, that man left it to draw suspicion on Forgery Hall. However, he didn't know that in the magical continent the word forgery has 2 extra dots, so he didn't add them. According to what we know, in China, in the outside world, they don't write the 2 dots when they write the character forgery. Thus, I suspect he's from the outside. Of course, there's also the possibility that someone in here is accustomed to the writing style from outside, but that's not very likely. No matter what, Elder Ming wouldn't have written that. Qi Yoxin saw everyone look at him, and he nodded. That's right. I just found out about that a few days ago. The word was very blurry. I told Elderling yesterday, but even so, Xia Chongyan is still suspicious. He could have done this on purpose. Everyone could tell that Qi Yoxin was a lot more reasonable. At least he knew that this probably didn't have anything to do with Forgery Hall. Yet he couldn't find a target for revenge, so that's why he's clinging on to Xia Chongyan. That big-bearded man's gold checks all came from the Magical Merchant Association. So we asked Zihua Goddess. Apparently, he brought a large stack of gold bricks to trade for those gold checks. But where did he get that many gold bricks from? How did he bring them inside Hang Shui City? Zhang Changwen asked, did the Magical Merchant Association not investigate this? The Magical Merchant Association only does business with people. They never investigate the customer. I've already asked Zihua Goddess about this. Zhang Changwen immediately said. Xia Chongyan was still silent, but Wan Haod said, this person injured our vice sect leader and killed Wei Wu. No matter who he is or where he comes from, we won't let him go. A middle-aged woman from Du Tian sect sneered. So what if you won't let him go? Do you know who he is? Furthermore, he can kill a great heaven master, which means that he's at great heaven too. Even if you meet him, what will you do about it? And he's a great heaven master at a very young age. That's quite formidable. Seeing that Wan Haod was about to rage, Ling Wushui waved his hand. Other than all heaven sects Du Qinbei, who reached great heaven at the age of 45, there has been no other person in the magical continent who could reach great heaven before that age. I'm not sure if that person is great heaven for sure. Elder Ming died from a sneak attack. From this we can confirm that if he is at great heaven, he's at most as strong as Elder Ming. TL note. Du Tian. All Heaven Ling Wushui was implying that if the culprit was only at Elder Ming's level, he had no concerns. Elder Jiesian. Has your Elder Jiesun come back yet? Ling Wushui suddenly asked something irrelevant. Jiesian shook her head. Not only did Jiesun not come back yet, but a core disciple also didn't come back. Martial Sister Jiesian, I got news that in the Mortal Land someone from your sect used your sect's hidden sex order to capture a young man called Yi Mo. First, she searched by identity, which wasn't effective. Then she drew an image. I have an image of Yi Mo here. Everyone can take one, Zhang Changwen said. Then he said, perhaps when Martial Sister Jie Xian goes back to your sect, Daoist Jie Sun will be back too. Maybe Jie Sun knows about why the core disciple of Kun Qian sect, Qi Yulin, disappeared. So if Jie Sun comes back, please inform me. What? Jie Xian was clearly shocked by this news. She didn't even know the missing elder from her sect had came back, and someone else knew. If Jie Sun had returned, why didn't she go back to her sect as soon as possible? Why use a hidden sex order in a mortal city? Daoist Jie Xian, did your other 2 disciples come back? Another elder from Kun Qian's sect asked. Jie Xian's face looked unhappy. They hadn't even told her Jie Sun had appeared yesterday, and now they were questioning her. She said coldly, Your Kuan Qian sect's elders don't need to care about our disciples. Zhang Chongwen knew that if this continued, they might start fighting. He wanted to use this meeting to pressure Jie Xian into saying why Jie Sun had used the hidden sex order and how had she come back. However, from her expression, it seemed she really didn't know Jie Sun was back. The meeting dispersed with general unhappiness. After Lu Lei won the fight, an elder immediately took him in as a disciple. The pressure on cultivation of inner sect members was very high. They had to use most of their time on board to cultivate. So he didn't have time to find Yi-Mo, and he didn't go look for him either. Even though Yi-Mo knew that Jie Sun wasn't on the ship, he didn't go out much. He knew that he should keep a low profile. A few days passed quickly. Yi-Mo didn't know that because he had stayed in his room all day, he had saved himself a lot of trouble. When the ship reached the shore, all the disciples rejoiced. No one liked living on the sea all the time. Under the leadership of the sect elders, the disciples got off the ship quickly. Yi-Mo and Mu Xiaoyan also left the dock with Ice Lake's people. Yun-Zi bid farewell to the sect elders. She had her own business, so she didn't have to go back. Z, wait. An elder stopped Yun-Zi. He gave an image to her. This person is very important. Your merchant association is all over the place. Try to find him. Oh, Yun-Zi took the painting and looked at it. Immediately, she realized something looked familiar. Chapter 728. Entering Ice Lake. Chapter 728. Entering Ice Lake, what's wrong, Z? The elder asked when he saw Yun-Zi in a daze. Oh, nothing. I just feel that the person on the painting is young, has a nice temperament. And he is quite handsome, too. The elder was surprised and laughed. Goddess Sihua actually called this man handsome. He would be overjoyed if he knew. But really, this man is very important, and he might be related to something significant. So report back to the sect as soon as you get news of him. Well then, we'll be going now. Yes, Elder Ko, Yun-Zi answered. Miss, Xiaoling said something, but Yun-Zi waved her hand. Let's go back to the association. We've been out for too long this time. Although her tone was calm, Yun-Zi wasn't calm on the inside at all. She finally remembered. This man reminded her a lot of Mo-ing. She looked at Yi-Mo's face for a long time, and if his face weren't ruined, was it really him? If it was, why would the elder be looking for someone like him? Although Yun-Zi couldn't ask the elder directly why they were looking for this person, she could find out through other means. The first impression Yi-Mo had after stepping foot onto the hidden sex land was that the mountains were all joined together, and that the spirit chi there was much denser than in other places. Although it wasn't at an extremely superb level, it was much better than in the cities outside. Yi-Mo and Mu Xiaoyan followed after a chariot for almost 4 days before entering a mountain range. They rarely met any people on the way, but Yi-Mo still found a few places where a pretty big number of people lived. Ji Ilan said that these small towns were mostly there to serve the hidden sections. Although many people were taken in as outer sect members, they were rarely ever able to reach a high level, and so could only eventually fade out of the hidden sects to become people who work for the hidden sections. Some left the hidden sects and gradually formed small settlements like that. This is Ice Lake. Ji Ilan pointed at the mountain range ahead. Yi-Mo was surprised. He thought that since the sect was called Ice Lake, there should be a lake, but there wasn't even a small ravine to be seen. Ji Ilan smiled, as though knowing what Yi-Mo was thinking, and said, You must be wondering why there isn't a lake here when we're called Ice Lake? Guessing from the name, one would be only half correct. Ji Ilan seemed a lot happier after coming back to Ice Lake, even though Ji Ilan always covered her face. Yi-Mo knew why she did that, because when he looked at her with his spirit sense, he could see that she was very pretty, but there was a flaw to her looks. Without it, she would be on par with Mu Xiaoyan, but this flaw extended from her face to her chin and ruined her entire face. There is indeed a lake in Ice Lake, but it's inside our sect. We got our name from that lake. The lake water is very cold, it's even colder than ice, but it actually never forms ice, Ji Ilan explained with pride. Yi Mo could feel there was much more spirit chi being emitted there than on the outside, and started to like the place. After another 2 hours of traveling, a large green meadow appeared before their eyes. In the center of the grassland was a big lake. This lake was too pretty. Even though there was no wind, there were slight ripples on the lake surface, and it was much bigger than, for example, the Luoyu Lake. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense in and found that his spirit sense couldn't even reach the bottom. After Yi Mo and company went further in, the inner and outer sect members were separated. Ice Lake wasn't small, having a couple hundred disciples, but most were outer sect disciples. There didn't seem to be a lot of inner sect disciples, much less core disciples. Mu Xiaoyan was a core disciple, so she could enter the core sector to cultivate if she wanted, but she just didn't want to leave Yi Mo. There was nothing Ji Ilan could do about it. No matter how talented Mu Xiaoyan was, she couldn't take irrelevant people into the core sector, and so the two would be living at the outer sect area. Mu Xiaoyan chose a quiet and far-off place. Although Mu Xiaoyan was talented, she couldn't take on Ice Lake's cultivation method before they dealt with her, and Yi Mo's relationship. Ice Lake didn't have any way to deal with Mu Xiaoyun's stubbornness. They were waiting for Mu Xiaoyan to change her mind, while also desperately thinking of other ways. A few days later, Ice Lake even had a meeting about it, and all the core members came. Other than the Super Master Grandma Feng, there were also still a few Earth-level masters in the sect. A middle-aged woman who was of similar age to Miao, Lian, said, "Grandma, I think Mu Xiaoyan is simply a kind soul. I've seen that Mo Ing too, so why don't we dash?" She then made a slicing motion with her hand. She was one of Ice Lake's Earth-level elders. "Definitely not. Elder Luo, you don't understand Mu Xiaoyan's character. If we do that, the only thing left for us to do will be to kill her too. She is extremely loyal to her husband, and there's no way to change that. I'm thinking we might as well accept that Mo Ing as a core member as we dash." She was interrupted by Grandma, who waved her hand. Miao Lian stood up and said slowly, "Ilan is right. Mu Xiaoyan's character is like that indeed. Mu Xiaoyan will be very useful to us during the sect tournament in a few years. As Ilan needs to fully take over Ice Lake, she needs someone like Xiaoyan to help her. Elder, why don't we go talk to that Mo Ing? I don't think he's an unreasonable person. I'm sure he will understand," Ji Ilan said. Elder Feng nodded and sighed. "Let's do that. I heard that Mo Ing is in solitary training right now, so you can have a talk with him afterwards. I feel myself getting more and more sick. If we can't quickly gain some backup power, our third grade status will be in danger." Sigh dash. A talentless person is in solitary training? What a joke. Elder Luo sneered. Meanwhile, Yi Mo wasn't in solitary training for cultivation, but for making pills. He only had one earth spirit fruit, so in order to prevent himself from failing, he made many other pills before making the essence increasing pill with the earth spirit fruit. After 10 days of warming up, he felt he ready to make the essence increasing pill, so he took out the earth spirit fruit, Mingzhe grass, Mantian star, and double leaf mushroom. Although the essence increasing pill was 2 levels higher than the chi increasing pill, Yi Mo still managed to make it successfully after all of his preparation. He acquired 12 pills in the end. The maximum yield of a concoction was supposed to be 24, but Yi Mo was very happy to have made 12. Yi Mo told Mu Xiaoyan about it and started to break through to stage 6. When he reached stage 6, he would go out to find some ancient ruins and get a cultivation method for Mu Xiaoyan. The essence increasing pill turned into spirit chi as soon as it entered his mouth and started charging at his meridians. Yi Mo had been at stage 5 for a long time, so he easily reached stage 6 soon after. Yi Mo felt his power had increased quite a bit, and if he met that nun Jie Sun again, she wouldn't be able to get away from him. Yi Mo felt his spirit sense had also gotten a lot stronger, so he once again sent his spirit sense into the golden. Chapter 729. Can't Let Go. Chapter 729. Can't Let Go. Yi Mo was just testing his luck, but this time, his spirit sense wasn't pushed back by the golden. It was indeed because his spirit sense had been too weak that he hadn't been able to go in before. But after Yi Mo's spirit sense went in, it took just an instant before all of his chi and spirit sense got sucked up by the golden, like the last time. Yi Mo cursed. He tried to take back his spirit sense, but it disappeared into nothing like last time. When Yi Mo thought he was going to faint again, he saw a gray world. A strong gust of information was implanted into his head. Yi Mo heard a light sound in his brain. However, then, his consciousness was pushed out of the golden, even though Yi Mo rejoiced. He had guessed right. It really was a world. Yi Mo now knew that a gray world was inside the golden. He only needed to recover the lost essence chi and spirit sense. It was all because he was too weak. If his power reached a certain extent, this wouldn't happen. Yi Mo took out the spirit chi to recover, but he suddenly dazed. The information that entered his brain had gathered now. The world was formed from chaos. Matter exists forever. Strengthen life and nourish the spirit. So mind and spirit reach the truth. Contemplate the spirit harness the liquid. The gate of fortune. The opening stanza had been clearly imprinted in Yi Mo's head. As that finished, the words primordial fortune chant got stuck into Yi Mo's brain. Yi Mo stood up in shock. Was it a cultivation method chant? He understood those words. It was an extremely high-level cultivation method. He had never even heard of it. Although he was a cultivator, he was just a very low-level cultivator on Luo Yu continent. His cultivation method was also average. Yi Mo looked at the cultivation chant and knew it was countless times stronger than before. Even without foundation establishment state, he could condense his spirit chi into spirit essence. What shook Yi Mo was that it was a no-element cultivation method. Yi Mo had never seen one before, but he had heard these ones were extremely precious. Long time ago on Luo Yu continent, a no-element cultivation method appeared. Due to that cultivation method, countless sects were annihilated and countless masters were gone. Eventually, the cultivation method disappeared, and things finally calmed down. He actually had gotten something like this. If people on Luo Yu continent found out, he would be dead for sure. However, the only pity was that the information stopped at foundation establishment state. Perhaps because my power is too low, I can't access the rest of the information. Yi Mo sat down slowly again. It all had happened too suddenly. He had to think about his future path of cultivation. When Yi Mo read the entire cultivation method again, he calmed down. It could be said that it was the most suitable cultivation method for him, because he had an 8-element mixed spirit root. But there were also some disadvantages. The resources the cultivation method required were absurd. It was almost impossible to reach a certain level with the resources on that realm's earth. Secondly, he would have to give up his current power. This was very hard for Yi Mo. At least for now, he didn't want to do it. He had finally reached stage 6. If he abandoned all his power, then even with the cultivation method, he might never have the resources to get back to stage 6. Thirdly, this cultivation method stopped at foundation establishment state. Yi Mo didn't know if he could accomplish the latter parts. Even if he could, he would have to reach a certain level to be able to get it. What if he could reach it? Eventually, Yi Mo decided not to cultivate the primordial fortune chant. He needed the power to protect himself. If he couldn't find large amounts of resources, he would rather never cultivate primordial fortune chant. But Yi Mo knew that he could teach it to Mu Xiaoyuan. She didn't have a cultivation method, and this one suited her too. Although it was a resource-wasting cultivation method, Yi Mo was simply happy to find a cultivation method for Mu Xiaoyuan. Seeing him come out, Mu Xiaoyan greeted him joyfully. She was a bit worried since Yi Mo had been in there for long. Xiaoyan, did Ji Ilan come to talk to you again? Yi Mo scanned with his spirit sense and knew that Ji Ilan had just left. Mu Xiaoyan nodded. Yes, she has came to see me a few times, but I haven't agreed with her. I told her I want to stay with my husband. However, today she came to find you. I told her you were in solitary training, so she said she would come again tomorrow. Sharon, I found a cultivation method for you. I will teach you, and you can cultivate first. I'm going out. You can wait for me to come back. Mu Xiaoyan immediately began to worry. She grabbed Jimo's hand and said, Yi babe, are you leaving? I'm going with you. Yi Mo hugged her and said softly, You're very safe here. We need resources for cultivation. Without them, we can only stay like this for the rest of our lives. Your power is still weak, and I'm going to a dangerous place. I told you, the main reason I came here was to find cultivation resources. Yi babe, doesn't it feel good living like this together and getting old together? Why do we cultivate? I am very happy now. Mu Xiaoyan really didn't want to leave Yi Mo. Yi Mo rubbed her hair caringly and said after a long while, Xiaoyan, I also want to grow old with you. That's also a kind of happiness. But I love you guys too much. A few decades of life isn't enough. I want to stay with you guys forever. And even if we want to live a peaceful life, others won't let us. Without cultivation, I would have been killed long ago. Yi babe, sorry, but I really don't want to leave your side. Mu Xiaoyan knew that Yi Mo was adamant on leaving. Her husband was right. Without power, they would have been dead long ago. She could only look down and slowly sob. Sharon, I'll teach you the cultivation method. It's called Primordial Fortune Chan Dash. Yi Mo hadn't even finished when his mouth was blocked by Mu Xiaoyan's. Her husband was going to leave her. She felt she couldn't let go. This was the first time she took the initiative to do it. It was the first time Yi Mo saw Mu Xiaoyan act like this. No matter what he had to tell her, it could wait at a moment like this. The clothes were gradually taken off. When Mu Xiaoyan hugged Yi Mo's sturdy body, she then realized what she was doing. It was daylight. She completely blushed. She couldn't control the impulses in her heart when facing with her husband's departure. It was terror of losing everything again. Before being with Yi Mo, Mu Xiaoyan had never been this happy. Yi Mo wiped her tears. He was even considering taking her with him, but he couldn't assure his own safety in the Wu Wen Mountain, much less Mu Xiaoyan's. Xiaoyan, trust me, I'm just going to find herbs. Wait for me here. I will take you with me when I come back. When the storm settled, it was already the afternoon. Yet, Yi Mo still had to comfort Mu Xiaoyan in his arms. Chapter 730. Entering Wu Wen City. Chapter 730. Entering Wu Wen City, and Mu Xiaoyan was squirmed into Yi Mo's arms like a cat. Yi Mo knew that the primordial fortune chant needed large amounts of resources. After he taught this cultivation method to Mu Xiaoyan, he gave most of his pills and spirit stone to Mu Xiaoyan, as well as the gold checks. He just left a few essence-increasing pills and some other ordinary pills for himself. Yi babe, what if they asked me to study the ice lake cultivation method? Mu Xiaoyan thought that after Yi Mo left, she would enter the core sector. Yi Mo smiled. Just cultivate the primordial fortune chant. You don't need to cultivate the ice lake cultivation method. It's enough if you just have a look and use your qi to imitate the moves when necessary. And soon, the day became night, and because Mu Xiaoyan worked too hard during the day, she fell asleep as soon as she went to bed after dinner. Yi Mo didn't sleep. He added some gung metal essence to Mu Xiaoyan's flying sword and made a few more bottles of pills and left that in Mu Xiaoyan's ring before going to sleep. He didn't know how long he would be gone this time. He didn't want Mu Xiaoyan's cultivation to stop because she didn't have enough pills. When it was the next day, Yi Mo made breakfast and came to the bedside, kissed Mu Xiaoyan, who was sound asleep, and said softly, "Xiaoyan, I'm going. Cultivate hard, remember to eat well, and sleep well. Wait for me to come back." Then Yi Mo left. His spirit sense had already picked up on Ji Yilan, who was coming over. Yi Mo didn't have anything to say to her, so he just climbed onto his flying sword and shot up into the sky. Yi Mo knew that Mu Xiaoyan had just woken up, but he didn't call out to her anymore. Mu Xiaoyan ran to the door barefoot and looked at the sword as it disappeared. She couldn't control her tears. She had woken up once in the middle of the night, really wanting Yi Mo to just hug her and sleep, but she knew Yi Mo had things to do then, and she knew it now too. "Martial Sister Xiaoyan, what are you?" Ji Yilan had come again, wanting to persuade Yi Mo into letting Mu Xiaoyan go, but she saw Mu Xiaoyan standing at the door barefoot and crying. Mu Xiaoyan wiped her endless tears and sniffed. "Husband has left." "Ha." Ji Yilan was shook, but immediately understood how good this was. That Mo Ing probably realized that it wasn't good to keep Mu Xiaoyan here, so he left Ice Lake. Thinking about this, Ji Yilan had a much better impression of him. But Ji Yilan immediately thought Mo Ing is just an ordinary person. It's practically suicide for him to leave this mountain range. But as Ji Yilan looked at the still deeply sad Mu Xiaoyan, she didn't dare to say that. What if she chased Mo Ing like crazy? Besides, Mo Ying's death would be good for Mu Xiaoyan. After some time, and after meeting more people, she would forget about her husband. "Xiaoyan, what is this food on the table?" Ji Yilan saw the fully prepared breakfast on the table and asked. It was exquisitely laid out and had everything you could want. Even Ji Yilan couldn't help but gulp once. "Your husband made it, and dash," Ji Yilan asked in shock. Mu Xiaoyan nodded. "Yes, husband made it for me." Ji Yilan suddenly felt some enlightenment. She didn't think that coarse-looking man would be this meticulous. Was this the reason why Mu Xiaoyan couldn't leave him? Ji Yilan quickly shook her head. That was impossible. Mu Xiaoyan calmed her mood and let Ji Yilan sit down while she cleaned herself and changed. "Martial Sister Yilan, if you haven't had breakfast, then eat some. Then I won't say no." Ji Yilan had long since wanted to eat the food on the table, but she had been embarrassed to ask. When Ji Yilan bit the lotus leaf egg, she immediately knew that this wasn't something ordinary people could make. She subconsciously asked Mu Xiaoyan, "Xiaoyan, is your husband a chef?" "No, he isn't." Mu Xiaoyan shook her head. Soon, Ji Yilan finished and looked at Mu Xiaoyan in embarrassment. "Sorry, Xiaoyan, your husband's cooking is too good. I ate a little much. It's fine. When my husband comes back, he will cook me more." Mu Xiaoyan shook her head. Ji Yilan just wanted to talk when she felt a heat rise up in her body, and her inner chi seemed more condensed. Mu Xiaoyan explained, "That's normal. Martial Sister Yilan, don't worry. Husband likes to put some herbs in his cooking. It's good for cultivation." Ji Yilan looked at Mu Xiaoyan in shock. That was easy to say, but it was very hard to mix herbs into cooking. Was her husband a herbal master? Should she tell Grandma? Ji Yilan thought and shook her head. It would be best not to. It wouldn't be good if that caused more trouble. "Xiaoyan, now that your husband left Ice Lake, why don't you come live with me?" Ji Yilan remembered her main purpose. Mu Xiaoyan nodded. Wuwen City. It was a not-too-small city in the hidden sections. It was 150 kilometers from Wuwen Mountain, and there were always people there. Some were merchants, but most people there were ancient martial artists who came to gather herbs in the surroundings. Some sects also looked for disciples there, although Wuwen Mountain itself, which had an abundance of herbs, was only accessible once every 5 years with limited spots. The countless mountain ranges near it also had many herbs. Sometimes pretty rare herbs were found. Hence, many people picked herbs there. As soon as those who gathered herbs left the mountain, there would be people ready to buy them. After some time, this cycle of supply and demand formed Wuwen City. Yi Mo headed straight to Wuwen City after leaving Ice Lake. Others would need a week to get to Wuwen Mountain from Ice Lake, but Yi Mo took less than an hour. There were still 5 months left before the mist would dissipate, but Yi Mo wouldn't wait that long to go in with others. After half an hour, Yi Mo saw Wuwen City. He came down from his flying sword and entered it. Yi Mo wanted to buy some daily items and then find out more about Wuwen Mountain. But as soon as he entered the city, he noticed a huge uproar. Chapter 731. I like to kill Tai sex people. Chapter 731. I like to kill Tai sex people. You people are so unreasonable, a coarse female voice sounded. After that, someone immediately sneered. Unreasonable? Our Tai sect is a special grade sect. How could we be unreasonable to people like you? Many people here saw it. Who didn't follow the rules first? You took back your words, and you're saying that I, Jean Songliang, am being unreasonable? Yi Mo shook his head. He was about to walk away, but his spirit sense scanned what the man next to the woman held in his hand, and immediately stopped. He covered his face with a black cloth and squeezed into the crowd. He didn't want what he did there to affect Mu Xiaoyan. Luckily, most of people's attention was caught by the ruckus, and no one noticed Yi Mo. On one side, there were 2 Tai sect members and a servant next to them. In front of 3 members, there were a man and a woman. They seemed to be a couple. The woman was good-looking, and the man looked very sturdy. Yi Mo had squeezed into the crowd because he had seen a handful of blood cherries in the man's hand. Blood cherries were one of the main ingredients for making the Great Qi increasing pill. In the cultivation realm, a blood cherry could be sold for 30 spirit stones. What's wrong? Yi Mo intervened. Yi Mo was dressed very ordinarily and had a strange smell. Everyone just glanced at Yi Mo and didn't reply to him. They were very confused as to why someone with his face covered would do this. He was covering his face to avoid trouble, wasn't he? You have no business here. If you don't want trouble, P*SS off, a Tai sect member sneered. The woman wouldn't let it go. Of course, she said. My husband and I have been gathering herbs near the Wuwen City, and we were lucky to find 12 blood cherries. However, these 2 people here are using their sex name as a mean to buy our herbs for a low price. We don't want to sell it, but they're trying to force us. Yanek Sion, just give them what they want. We can't mess with them, but we can avoid it, the man said. Yi Mo laughed. So, you're forcing them to sell the cherries? How can there be such shameless people in the world? Who are you calling shameless? We're from the Tai sect. Choose your words carefully. That sect member didn't seem scared at all. He was instead threatening Yi Mo. The other sect member stepped forward and said, Friend, we never tried to force them. These 2 found the blood cherries and were selling them here. 2 people wanted to buy them, and I said the highest bidder should get it. They agreed, but after I made a bid, no one did any more. How is this forcing someone? Friend, reason with us. Are they taking their word back, or are we forcing them to sell it? Oh, how much did you offer? Yi Mo suddenly asked. 50 gold coins. The man hesitated and said. Yi Mo sneered. Here, just a blood cherry was worth 600 gold coins, yet he wanted to buy 12 for 50. Moreover, he had said it in such a self-righteous way. Yi Mo looked around and immediately realized that simply no one dared to bid, not because they didn't want to bid. Thinking about this, Yi Mo smiled to the couple. 2 friends, these 2 men are right. You're selling stuff. The highest bidder should get it. Or is it that the lowest bidder get it? You dash. The woman was at a loss for words. She had been hoping for Yi Mo to help them out, but that random guy who had stood up for them was actually sucking up to the 2 people from Tai sect. Ha ha ha! Friend, you have wits. Of course, the highest bidder gets it. The one who had told Yi Mo to piss off laughed. He had just realized that this man was also sucking up to them. The people around shook their heads, but they were used to it. But before the Tai sect member finished laughing, Yi Mo took out a 10K gold check and gave it to the man. "I'll pay 10K gold coins. My offer is higher than theirs, right? If you're satisfied with it, then these blood cherries belong to me." Ha! The man was dazed. The woman saw this and immediately reacted. She handed out the blood cherries and took the gold check, very satisfied, very satisfied. Then she looked at him gratefully and said, "Thank you, your *king asking to die." One of Tai's sect member had reacted and was about to attack. Yi Mo's expression sunk. A curved sword suddenly appeared in his hand. A ray flashed in front of his eyes, and the sect member was cut in half. Blood was splurged onto the streets, and the crowd turned silent. In Wuhan City, there were frequent fights, but even if these were to death, they weren't resolved in the city. However, this man was so brutal that he had killed someone inside the city. And what's more, it was someone from the Tai sect. It was absurd. You dare to kill one of our Tai sect disciples." The other member pointed at Yi Mo in fury and shock. But before he could finish, Yi Mo's sword flashed again, and he was also cut in half. The remaining servant was scared and pale. Yet he knew that if he said any kind of *T, he would be killed immediately. The couple also hadn't expected Yi Mo to kill inside the city, and especially not someone from the Tai sect. But the woman reacted fast. She knew that if they didn't leave quickly, they would be dead for sure too. She took out a booklet and gave it to Yi Mo. "Big brother, this is yours. You should leave quickly. We'll be leaving too." Then she dragged the man out and quickly left. Yi Mo smiled. He had killed them intentionally. Of course, he had come seeking revenge against the Tai sect, and it was just the beginning. He didn't believe that anyone in the city could do anything to him. By the time the masters came, he would be in the Wuhan Mountain. Yi Mo opened the booklet. It was a map of where the popular herbs were. It was very detailed. Yi Mo put the booklet away and felt grateful to that woman. As soon as Yi Mo did this, at least 6 ancient martial artists landed next to him. There was 1 at half-step Great Heaven, 3 at Earth primary stage, 1 at Earth middle, and 1 at Earth tertiary stage. "Friend, you dare to kill inside the Wuhan City. Put down your weapon and come with us," the Earth level tertiary stage martial artist said. Yi Mo suddenly sneered. "Is there anyone from the Tai sect here? I'm from the Tai sect. What are you going to do? You're a mere black level. Yet you dare to kill someone from Tai in this city," the Earth-level man said with a cold voice. If it wasn't that he didn't know who Yi Mo was yet, he would have killed him already. "Great, I like to kill Tai sect people." Then Yi Mo moved. The Earth-level tertiary stage man seemed to see a sword ray come down from his forehead. He was scared to death and wanted to dodge without thinking, but as soon as he tried to move, an invisible force pushed him back to where he was. Then he felt his head was cold. Inner chi wall, Great Heaven dash. Then his mind sunk into darkness. The 5 people were shocked. An Earth-level tertiary stage martial artist couldn't even last a single attack. Chapter 732. Who is it? Chapter 732. Who is it? A Great Heaven Master could do whatever he wanted in Wuhan City, while someone who could instantly kill an Earth-level tertiary stage cultivator was no ordinary Great Heaven Master. "So you wanted to capture me?" Yi Mo suddenly looked at that half-step Great Heaven and asked, No, Qianbei, it's because the half-step Great Heaven shivered. He knew that one wrong word, and he would be killed too. Yi Mo's continued in his plain tone. "Because I killed someone from the Tai sect? Well, you see, I like killing Tai sect members. So, which of you are from Tai? Tell me your names." "No, none of us are from Tai." Other than Dash, the half-step great heavens said shakily. Then why are you still standing here, P asterisk SS off? I need to buy something in Wuwen City, and if I see you blind idiots again, I won't be repeating myself. Yi Mo turned and left. Seeing Yi Mo leave, the five heaved a sigh of relief. City Lord, ignore him. We need to go back and report this to Tai immediately. Yi Mo gave almost all his gold checks to Mu Xiaoyan. Even with the loose change on him, he only had about 70K gold coins left. But that was enough to buy a lot of things. Not every herb was as expensive as blood cherries. News of what Yi Mo did spread quickly, and so everywhere he went, no one dared look at him for long. Even glances were done in secret. When Yi Mo bought herbs at shops, the shop owners even sold it to him cheaper than the import price in fear of offending this killing god. Yi Mo was speechless. He was only targeting the Tai sect, but since they reduced the price, he wouldn't be kind enough to give them more than they asked. Yi Mo bought a lot of things in Wuwen City, and most of the herbs were fresh. Half a month later, Yi Mo finally left Wuwen City, leaving under everyone's worried eyes. Actually, though, many people stood on Yi Mo's side for killing the Tai sect members who were usually so oppressive. Tai sect members had been targeted and killed in Wuwen City. This alerted Tai sect's Great Heaven Master, and even other sects hurried to Wuwen City at first notice. Who could be this bold? Not too long before, someone had dared to set up and kill Gemini Sword sect and Forgery Hall members, and now someone dared to kill Tai sect members overtly in Wuwen City. There sure were a lot of bold people nowadays. Hearing this news, Yunzi stood in front of a balcony for a long time before saying to the green-dressed girl next to her, Xiaoling, pack our things. I'm going to Ice Lake to see Elder Feng. She didn't want to see Elder Feng, but wanted to see that Mo Ing. She immediately thought of Mo Ing upon hearing the news of what happened in Wuwen City, because she knew Mo Ing had been interested in Wuwen Mountain. A few days later, in a secret room in Ice Lake, Elder Feng, who was getting older and older, sat on a soft mattress. Ji Ilan and Miao Lian were both there too. Mo Ing left. Elder Feng's tone was very calm. Ji Ilan stood up and said, Yes, Grandma. I persuaded him to go. He said that he knew he would be hindering Xiaoyan by staying, so he left. Why do I feel like you're hiding something? Are you hiding something from me? Grandma's tone was very calm, but there was a clear feeling of authority. Sorry, Grandma. That Mo Ing might be a herbal doctor. Ji Ilan was reminded that she couldn't hide anything from Grandma Feng. What? Elder Feng's eyes suddenly shot out rays, and she got up, but a moment later, she sat back down with her hands still shaking. After a long time, she said, Why didn't you tell me? Were you scared that I would coerce him? Ji Ilan looked down. Grandma knew her well, but she also knew Grandma well. She was a very cutthroat person. If she knew that Mo Ing was a herbal doctor, Mo Ing would never be able to see the living daylight again. Not only would he have to spill all his techniques, he would be made to stay at Ice Lake to make pills and medicine for the rest of his life. Her grandma would rather imprison a herbal doctor or kill him than let him serve another sect. Elder Feng's face was green and her eyes were dodgy. Ji Ilan suddenly knelt down. Grandma, please don't do anything to Xiaoyan. She didn't know this at all. She doesn't even know her husband. She only met her husband 2 months ago. You were scared that I would trouble that Mo Ing and end up making Mu Xiaoyan want to leave. That's why you hid it from me, right? Grandma had regained her composure. Yes, and I'm actually only guessing that Mo Ing might not be a herbal doctor. I just heard Xiaoyan say that he likes to put herbs into food, and that it had a lot of benefits when he does. Ji Ilan said carefully. Elder Feng sighed. Ilan, get up. You're too soft-hearted. I really don't know if it's the right decision to let you manage Ice Lake. Sigh, Elder Feng paused for a moment and said, Do you know what a herbal doctor means for a sect? If that Mo Ing can mix herbs into food, he's a herbal doctor for sure, and a rather capable one at that. Yet you let him go. Elder. That Mo Ing is just an ordinary person however. Elder Fong waved her hand. She said plainly, Ilan, do you think a herbal doctor would be a normal person? She then said, I just got news that 5 days ago, someone killed Tai sect members in Wuhan City, and he proclaimed that he was targeting the Tai sect. He killed them for a herb called the blood cherry, and that Mo Ing is a herbal doctor. So, Ji Ilan said in shock, Elder, how is that possible? Mo Ing left in the morning only 5 days ago. Even if he can fly, he can't have appeared in Wu when city 5 days ago, and killed those people. Hearing this, Elder Fong frowned and murmured to herself that is impossible indeed. Not to mention, he's at most in his 20s. No matter what, he can't have the strength to instantly kill an Earth-level tertiary stage cultivator. I was thinking too much. Then Elder Fong asked, how is Mu Xiaoyan's progress? Ji Ilan said happily, she's very talented. It's only been 5 days, and she reached level 2 of the Star Rain cultivation method, and has reached the yellow level middle stage. That fast, she's a level 1 talent indeed. Even Elder Fong was completely shocked. At this moment, someone said at the door, Grandma, sect leader Ilan, Magic Merchant Association's goddess C, Hua is here. Elder Fong and Ji Ilan were both dazed. Why would the acting leader of such a big power come visit Ice Lake? Goddess Si Hua, please come in, Elder Fong said. Si Hua walked in with a smile. Ji Ilan quickly got up. It's an honor to see Goddess Si Hua in Ice Lake. Please have a seat. Thank you. Miao Lian quickly poured a cup of tea. Ji Ilan smiled. Sister Zihua is very busy with the Merchant Association. How did you find the time to come to Ice Lake? Zihua smiled. I've met Mu Xiaoyan and her husband in Hang Shui before, and I happen to be nearby, so I came to see them. Ji Ilan didn't believe that Zihua came to see Mo Ing. She probably came from Mu Xiaoyan. This immediately made Ji Ilan vigilant. Xiaoyan is working hard cultivating Ice Lake's cultivation method, and Mo Ing has left Ice Lake. What? Yunzi was so shook that she spilled her cup of tea. Was it really him? Chapter 733. Wu Wen Mountain. Chapter 733. Wu Wen Mountain, although he had left Wu Wen City 5 days before already, Mo hadn't gone into Wu Wen Mountain yet. He was searching the outskirts according to the map the woman gave him, and also testing his anti-poison pills. After the testing, Mo felt they weren't bad, but the corrosive power of the poison at the entrance to the mountain was too strong, and it would only get stronger when he properly went into the mountain. So to be safe, Mo used some materials to make an armor that covered him from head to toe. This armor was just a low-grade magic artifact, yet it wasted half of Yemo's gung metal essence and some of his 5-element rock and other ores. On the morning of the next day, Mo was standing at the entrance to Wu Wen Mountain. The mist with a putrid stench seeped out from it, and even though Mo had taken an anti-poison pill, he still felt dizzy. Mo slowly walked in nonetheless. Even if the poison was fatal, he would still give it a try. As soon as Mo stepped in, the poison mist seemed to be alive as it rushed over and surrounded him. Crack, crack, there was the sound of corrosion, and Mo saw the clothes outside his armor soon dissipate into nothing. So powerful. Mo was shook, since the poison in here was so strong. How could there be herbs? Mo sent his spirit sense out and saw there were trees resistant to the corrosion, but there were no spirit herbs. Mo frowned. He got up on his flying sword and wanted to fly into the sky, but soon he was disappointed. There were anti-air restrictions on the mountain. Even if he somehow managed to fly, it would have to be near the ground. This restriction signified the presence of cultivators. Mo decided to just start running, but even then he still felt a strong opposition force. An hour later, Mo ran out of the poison mist and finally understood why there were herbs there. This place was a haven of spirit chi. It was boundless, and there was no poison mist past that point. As long as you got through the poison mist layer, you could harvest herbs as you pleased. Yemo noticed one more thing. The putrid kind of poison mist layer was only in the outer 10 kilometers. Between that and the spirit herbs was a layer of normal poison mist. There was already some vegetation in this layer, and even some animals. But Yemo also saw that although there were spirit herbs there, they were very young. The old ones had all been picked already. There were also ferocious beasts everywhere. Perhaps due to the spirit chi, they had gotten much stronger than the beasts outside. As for why there was no poison mist there, Yemo knew that there was a huge formation in this mountain range, but he couldn't really see it. Yemo knew that it would be impossible to break this formation with his current power, but he also knew that it must have been left there by someone a long time ago. He didn't need to break it. After a while, Yemo still found some old spirit herbs. After all, this place was too broad. Even with the great picking every 5 years, it was impossible to pick everything. Yemo didn't have a place to store these herbs, so he decided he would go back and start making pills as soon as he'd collected enough. Yemo sunk into the endless herbs and lost track of time. He didn't know how many herbs he had collected. This should be enough. I should get back quickly and make some pills. Yemo looked at the fully stacked herbs and said to himself. After this time, Yemo also knew that there was another layer of poison mist deeper into the mountain after all. After passing through that, he would probably reach the core part of Wuwen Mountain. That was where had Yunzi said the Jialan flower could exist. But after taking a look there, Yemo saw that this layer of poison mist was much stronger and would never weaken. No one could go in there. How could Yunzi even know that there might be a Jialan flower in there? Perhaps she had been lying. Yemo estimated that he had been there for 2 or 3 months already. So in order for Mu Xiaoyan not to worry, he decided to only go in quickly and immediately come out. Yemo dashed in as quickly as he could, but he felt a strong resistance again, this one much stronger than outside. Hence, Yemo was as slow as a snail. 1 hour later, Yemo was sweating. He had been walking for an hour, but all he saw ahead of him was still that endless poison mist. What worried him the most was that his armor started to corrode. Yemo had put a lot of good materials into his armor, yet the more he walked, the faster the armor was being corroded. Should he leave? Yemo thought about it, but immediately rejected the idea. He didn't even know if he would be able to still leave that easily, but even if he would, when would he be able to get the Jialan flower if not now? If he left now, his effort to beat that last poison mist layer would have all been for nothing. An hour later, when Yemo felt that his armor was about to be completely dissolved, a large patch of green appeared before his eyes. Finally, Yemo breathed a sigh of relief, and his attention was immediately caught by what was in front of him. This was an ancient spirit herb garden. The herbs in there were all very old. Some had even died, naturally. Perhaps the ones alive weren't even the originally planted ones. Yemo noticed the spirit herbs and was completely stunned. 9-leaf lotus, Zhou Huan flower, double-leaf luo lan, purple, black, blue carrot. Yemo was absolutely breathless. What was this? Although he had never seen these in real life, he had seen them in books. Yemo never had thought he would be able to see the real deal one day. Yemo's hands were shaking. These were herbs used by high-level cultivators, by old monsters at the golden core and nascent soul stage. Yemo scanned the outside of the garden and finally saw some Jialan flowers too. They were very precious to him, but they were just a random, unimportant grass on the outskirts here. It didn't even have the right to be in the actual herb garden. Yemo carefully approached the entrance of the garden and stood still for a long while. After making sure there was no problem, he bent down and picked up 3 Jialan flowers. But as soon as he did, he felt a certain strong pressure appear. Yi Mo wanted to retreat, but that strong suction force rendered him unable to move. A black mist then encroached him, and Yi Mo immediately disappeared from the spot. Chapter 734. Longing for Someone? Chapter 734. Longing for someone, Ice Lake had fallen from the special grade sect status after the last sect tournament. They had internal conflicts which rendered them a bordering third-grade sect, but recently it had become famous again due to the recruitment of a genius disciple, Mu Xiaoyun. The most important reason for their fame was that the responsible person for the Magical Merchant Association, Yun Zi, often went to Ice Lake. She had become a friend of Ji Yilan and Mu Xiaoyun. People were envious that Ice Lake and the Magical Merchant Association were on good terms. Many important resources couldn't be bought with money. Most people believed that the reason Yunzi was getting closer to Ice Lake was due to Mu Xiaoyun. Because of Mu Xiaoyun, Ice Lake was very lucky. Mu Xiaoyun was a level 1 talent and an extremely beautiful woman. As for Mo Ying, who had been with her at Hang Shui, people had long forgotten about him. How could someone like him deserve a goddess-like genius? The Ice Lake was the symbol of the sect. At the highest rock next to it, a blue-dressed lady stood looking out into the distance. Husband had said he would come back and take her in at most half a year. However, he had been gone for 3 years already. Why was he not back yet? 3 years ago, she would go there to seek for her husband every day, but she never found him. If it hadn't been that he had told her to wait for him at Ice Lake and not to leave, she would have left Ice Lake to find him. Husband, I'm already at Qi Gathering Stage 3. Why are you still not back? Mu Xiaoyun murmured. Martial Sister Xiaoyun, let's go back. Zi Sitter brought a few invitations for the Hidden Sects martial arts tournament. Let's go together. Ji Yilan saw Mu Xiaoyun and sighed. She really couldn't do anything about this. She had tried persuading her many times, but she never listened to her. She would spend a large amount of time each day waiting for her husband there. Regardless of the weather, there were even 2 footprints on the rock. If she had used all that time to cultivate instead, she would be at Earth level already. Even so, she was at Black level peak now. She had reached stage 6 in Star Rain cultivation method, and even she was only at stage 5. Mu Xiaoyun returned to her senses and looked blankly at Ji Yilan. She said slowly to Ji Yilan, Martial Sister Yilan, I don't want to go to that tournament. You guys can go. Then she turned back and headed to her place. Ever since 2 years ago, she had gone back to the place she had lived with Yi Mo. Although Ji Yilan and Grandma were helpless, Mu Xiaoyun's talent was absolutely perfect. She barely cultivated, yet she had reached Black stage peak. Hence, they could only let her do as she wished. Hearing this, Ji Yilan said worriedly, Martial Sister Xiaoyun, you must go. Do you know how hard it is to get an invitation? Our sect only has one, but Sister Z helped us get a few. Hearing this, Mu Xiaoyun looked back at Ji Yilan in confusion. Sister Yilan, husband just told me to wait for him at Ice Lake. What if he can't find me after I leave? And I don't like that sort of events. Why would I have to go? Ji Yilan said, Martial Sister Xiaoyun, there's 1 year left until the sect ascending tournament from grade 3 to grade 2. Those who participate must be under 30. You're our main power. You must go. Mu Xiaoyun nodded. I know. I will go to the tournament. However, I don't want to go to the Hidden Sects martial arts tournament. I want to wait for my husband here. Ji Yilan could only say, the main purpose of the Hidden Sects martial arts tournament is for the 3rd grade sects to rise to 2nd grade sect. It's for the contestants to understand each other and learn about your opponents. People also discuss their cultivation experiences there too. Sometimes you can't just cultivate alone. Ji Yilan paused for a moment and then said, of course, the most important thing is that you have to go to Chan City to sign up for next year's tournament. Even if you don't go to this tournament, you have to go to sign up personally. Okay then. But my husband Mu Xiaoyan knew she couldn't reject it. Before she finished, Ji Ilan said, "Don't worry about your husband. I told Grandma that if your husband comes back while you're not at Ice Lake, she will immediately notify you through messenger hawks. You can come back to Ice Lake at any time." That's not necessary. You just have to tell me husband where I am. He will come to pick me up, Mu Xiaoyan quickly said. She was sure that her husband was caught up on something. He wouldn't forget about her. Chan City was the biggest city in the hidden sections. It was like the Hang Shui city of the outside. This city was in the center of the hidden sections. This martial arts tournament was for the younger generations. So the city had become very busy. Unlike other cities, Chan City had more than a few great heaven masters guarding it, so no one dared to cause trouble there. No matter who you are or where you came from, Chan City was not a place for you to mess around in. When Mu Xiaoyan and the rest arrived, it was already full. It was impossible to find a place to stay, and the prices were rather high. However, Ice Lake disciples already had a place arranged for them. The headquarters of the Magical Merchant Association were in Chan City. After settling down, Ji Yilan went to Mu Xiaoyan's room. She saw that Mu Xiaoyan was just contemplating and sighed. "Xiaoyan, let's go take a walk. It's better than staying at home all day." Hearing this, Mu Xiaoyan remembered when she had been to Hang Shui City. Her husband had taken her out to fly at night and bought stuff together. If only her husband was here, she could go out with him. However, Mu Xiaoyan had no interest in going out with Martial Sister Ilan. "Sorry, Martial Sister Ilan, I don't want to go out. I'll stay here." Mu Xiaoyan shook her head. In the next few days, Mu Xiaoyan didn't leave her place other than when she went to sign up. On the third day, when the Hidden Sex martial arts tournament was about to start, Yun Zi suddenly ran to Mu Xiaoyan and said, "Martial Sister Xiaoyan, I think I saw your husband." Chapter 735. It isn't. Chapter 735. It isn't. Huh? Hearing this, Mu Xiaoyan stood up abruptly with her eyes wide open. Ji Ilan could feel Mu Xiaoyan wobble and quickly supported her. "Don't worry, Martial Sister Xiaoyan. Let Sister Zi finish first." Yun Zi was also excited. The reason why she had made friends with Mu Xiaoyan was to get to know more about Yimo. She might have had ulterior motives at the start, but later on she became real friends with her. Yun Zi comforted, "Xiaoyan, stay calm. I'm not sure whether that person was your husband. I just heard someone call out to a martial brother Mo at the door and subconsciously looked back. Then I saw someone that looked very similar to your husband. I didn't see clearly, but Mu Xiaoyan grabbed Yun Zi's hand in excitement. "Sister Zi, but what?" Yun Zi calmed down and said, "But his face didn't seem scarred, so I'm not sure that he was your husband." The reason why Yun Zi had still mentioned it was because she was sure that Mo had the capability to go to Wu Wen Mountain. So maybe he'd found the Jia Lan flower and recovered his face. The only thing she wasn't too sure about was that the day the Tai sect members were killed was only the day Mo left Ice Lake. Even if Mo could fly, there was no way he could get to Wu Wen Mountain that fast. But Yun Zi had reached out to some eyewitnesses from Wu Wen City and had told them to describe the masked man, and their description reminded her a lot of Moing. Mu Xiaoyan shook in excitement and said subconsciously, "My husband can recover his looks. I want to go see for myself." "What?" Yun Zi and Ji Ilan screamed at the same time. They couldn't believe it. Mu Xiaoyan knew she had spilled some words in her excitement, but she didn't mind much. As long as she could see her husband, everything else didn't matter. "Martial Sister Xiaoyan, can Brother Mo really recover his face?" Ji Ilan was shaking and grabbed Mu Xiaoyan's hand. She didn't doubt Mu Xiaoyan's words. Yun Zi also looked at Mu Xiaoyan in excitement, as she didn't doubt Mu Xiaoyan either. If Yi Mo was able to find the Jialan flower, he would really have such power. She had given Yi Mo a map of Wuwen Mountain and found out that after the recent incident, almost 80% of the high-level herbs in the Wuwen Mountains had been picked away. This quite possibly might have been done by Yi Mo. Yunzi had the feeling that Yi Mo had the capability to go in early. The more she thought about it, the more she felt like her guess was right. A pity that she had missed the chance to get close to Mo Ing on the boat. To her, it didn't matter what people Yi Mo had killed. She only cares about his abilities. Mu Xiaoyan was so excited that she immediately wanted to go to the hidden sex tournament and look for Yi Mo, but Ji Ilan was holding her hand and asking her something, so she still had to reply. Yes, Martial Sister Ilan, my husband could do that. Mu Xiaoyan nodded. Right, your husband is a high-level herbal doctor. I should have long since realized this. Ji Ilan also said something she shouldn't in her excitement. What? Martial Sister Ilan, Xiaoyan's husband is a high-level herbal doctor? Yunzi was completely shocked. High-level herbal doctors were supremely important to the hidden sections. If her association could have a connection to a high-level herbal doctor, then Yunzi didn't even dare keep thinking about it. No wonder that Mo Ing liked herbs and gathering herbs, so that was it. As long as Mo Ing came back and just helped the association a little, then in that moment, all three were very excited and couldn't control themselves. Xiaoyan, Ilan, let's quickly go. Yunzi really wanted to see Mo as soon as possible. Goddess Yi, Goddess Yun, countless people greeted them when they came to the hidden sex tournament. No one knew Mu Xiaoyan and Ji Ilan, but Yunzi was famous. The martial arts tournament was a huge place with all sorts of facilities. Because it had just started, only a few people were practicing in the practice rings. Most people were sitting on the balconies having discussions. They all wanted to benefit from the experience of seniors. Every tournament, there would be some high-level masters coming to expound on the martial Tao. Yunzi caught most people's attention, and many people wanted to say hi to her to elevate their own status. However, Yunzi acted very strangely in front of these people. When the four came in together, Yunzi and her maid were at the very back. In the middle was a woman wearing a veil, and in the front most another goddess-like beauty. Soon, everyone's attention was caught by that otherworldly beauty. It was as though she was about to ascend to heaven. It could be said that this woman was even prettier than Goddess Sihua, but that woman was desperately looking around. Mu Xiaoyan had started looking for Yi Mo as soon as she came in. Suddenly, Mu Xiaoyan's face froze. Her face changed and even went pale for a moment. But then she frowned and seemed to have remembered something as her face returned to normal. Xiaoyan, what are you doing here? A young man walked over in surprise. Mu Xiaoyan looked at this man and said plainly, So it's you, Mo Yushin? Although they looked very similar, Mu Xiaoyan could tell straight away that this person wasn't her husband Yi Mo. The man seemed unable to believe that Mu Xiaoyan had dared call him by his name and frowned. Xiaoyan, why are you not answering me about why you're here? And where is my mother? Mu Xiaoyan's face sunk. When she saw Mo Yushin, there was this coldness that rose from the bottom of her heart, making her uneasy. When she was with Yi Mo, she didn't have that feeling. Suddenly, Mu Xiaoyan felt a hint of gratitude towards this Mo Yushin. If he hadn't left, how could she have met Yi Babe? At this moment, Yunzi walked over and whispered to Mu Xiaoyan, He was the one I saw, but is he your husband? He looks similar, yet doesn't at the same time. Mu Xiaoyan answered plainly, He isn't, my husband isn't here today. Sister Z and Ilan, I'm going. Chapter 736. You don't have the right. Chapter 736. You don't have the right hearing this. Mo Yushin seemed to have understood something. He screeched, Mu Xiaoyan, what did you just say? You left your mother-in-law and ran away. Then, you cheat on me. You dash Yunzi and Ji Yilan looked at Mu Xiaoyan in shock after hearing this. Mo Yoshin's words implied that Mu Xiaoyan was his wife, but she was no longer the Mu Xiaoyan she had been a few years ago. She now had a husband who deeply loved her. She looked coldly at Mo Yushin. Your auntie saved me. I fed your mother for 3 years until she died. What did you do? Who do you think you are? My husband already told me. What do you have to do with me? What right do you have to say that to me? You dash. Mo Yoshin's face was green with anger. That timid cat from the past had suddenly turned into this, and it was unbearable for him. He couldn't keep calm anymore and lost his reason. He could curse and beat Mu Xiaoyan whenever he wanted. He could even tell her to die, and Mu Xiaoyan was not allowed to resist. This was absurd. She not only had resisted, but she dared say that he couldn't do anything about it. Seeing Mo Yushin shake of anger, Mu Xiaoyan said even more calmly, I cheated on you? Who are you to me? What right do you have to say that? Only my husband can say it. You have no right. Mo Yushin suddenly started yelling, Mu Xiaoyan, your father gave you to the Mo family. Are you regretting it now? Who saved you from that big disaster? Mu Xiaoyan, do you have any shame left? You left your mother-in-law and ran away by yourself. And now you say I'm not your husband. You USL*T. For the first time in his life, Mo Yushin was truly bursting of anger. Mu Xiaoyan's expression turned cold. She said plainly, Mo Yushin, was I actually given to the Mo family? Did your family ever give us a marriage gift? Did I ever plan to marry you? Or did we have a wedding? Did I sleep with you? I don't think any of that happened. Who is shameless here? There's nothing between us. What right do you have to say that I'm yours? Yes, I am thankful to your auntie for saving me, but you didn't save me. Moreover, I struggled living in Huangping, yet I still fed your mother. Where were you? When I was abused and had nowhere to hide, where were you? There was no food in the house. I starved and had to borrow bowls of rice to feed your mother. When I was starving in the kitchen, where were you? You weren't even there. And even when you were, I was still the one providing for the family. Did you do anything for the family? I even had to take care of the haystack on the roof. Those few years, I didn't let your mother starve nor freeze. I let her curse and beat me until she passed away. When I had nowhere to go, I met my husband. Only then did I know what real happiness was. Only then did I know that a woman can also be protected. My husband told me, I don't owe anything to your family anymore. There were tears in the corners of her eyes. She didn't care about her past traumas, but when she thought about her husband, she got emotional. She spoke her heart as she didn't know how to curse people. What? My mother died. Mo Yushin was shook, as though he couldn't accept this fact. Mu Xiaoyan looked at him coldly and felt he was so fake. If he had really cared about his mother, why had he disappeared for so many years? Mo Yushin suddenly thought of something and pointed at Mu Xiaoyan hideously. Mu Xiaoyan, you dare to find another man. You dash. Mu Xiaoyan looked at him coldly. I have nothing to do with you. What has having a husband got to do with you? My husband explained to me that all you did was abandon your mother at home and stop caring about her. What is more, you left me, someone who is not related to your family, to take care of her. This is beyond shameless and immoral. How dare you have the guts to point fingers at me? Mo Yushin felt an irresistible anger rose from his heart. He was about to kill Mu Xiaoyan in a punch when someone behind him said, that goddess-like beauty is Mu Xiaoyan? I heard she was the #1 genius who got recruited by Ice Lake. She's a goddess in the mortal realm indeed. PFFF, what do her looks got to do with her power? I heard that even some of the special grade sects wanted her. Hearing this, Mo Yushin suddenly calmed down. He had heard about that so-called Mu Xiaoyan, but he had never thought it would be her. When Mo Yushin calmed down and studied Mu Xiaoyan carefully, he found that she was extremely beautiful. Even Goddess C, Hua's beauty, was a little inferior. Mo Yoshin's heart began to burn with excitement. Due to his condition, he had never thought of doing anything with Mu Xiaoyun. However, now he knew that if he reached great heaven, he could become a normal man. Mo Yushin was sure that Mu Xiaoyun didn't know he was impotent. If he could get married with Mu Xiaoyun, perhaps Tai's sect would allow him to become a core disciple. To Mo Yushin, cultivation was everything. Nothing else mattered. Thinking about this, he took a step forward. But before he could speak, Yunzi stood in front of him. She looked plainly at him and said, "Mr. Mo, I heard the conversation you just had with her. In which case, she has nothing to do with you. She is married now, and she has a very loving husband, so you have no right to disturb her." What Yunzi didn't expect was that Mo Yushin sighed and said, "Sorry, Xiaoyun, it was my bad before indeed. I wanted to explore the world, and I neglected your feelings. I also didn't treat my mother right. I apologize to you now." Then he bowed. Mu Xiaoyun frowned. She couldn't understand. The Mo Yushin she knew would have never done this. Seeing Mu Xiaoyun take a few steps back, Mo Yushin said solemnly, "Xiaoyun, you also know why our grandparents agreed to have us married. It's because of that fortune teller. If it hadn't been for that big disaster, perhaps we would have gotten engaged. Still, I don't think it's too late." Mu Xiaoyun's expression turned cold. "You're the genius disciple from Ice Lake, and I'm one of Tai's inner sect members. We have a common goal now." However, Mu Xiaoyun's face changed drastically. Tai's sect. Her husband had told her that it was his biggest enemy. His number one priority, there was to take revenge on Tai. "Xiaoyun, I'm willing to make up for everything I did before. Think about it. If one day we both became Tai sect members dash, however, Ji Ilan was furious. She came up and sneered. Mo Yushin, what do you mean? Xiaoyun is Ice Lake's disciple now. Watch your words." Chapter 737. Elder Jin's Schemes. Chapter 737. Elder Jin's schemes. Mo Yushin had calmed down completely, and he didn't even seem unhappy about Ji Ilan's words. He simply said, "Martial sister, I never denied Xiaoyun being an Ice Lake disciple." He paused for a moment before continuing. "She's my fiancée, and due to my fault, she's angry at the moment. But I believe that if we can recover our relationship, Ice Lake could become a closely related sect to Tai." Mu Xiaoyun sneered. "Mo Yushin, I never had anything to do with you in the past, don't in the present, and won't in the future. The only one I love is my husband. If you dare to say such words in front of me again, don't blame me for being merciless." "Ha ha. So Prodigy Mo and the genius of Ice Lake has this type of connection." An old voice suddenly sounded. A fat old man appeared in front of them. He didn't have much hair except for on his two temples on both sides where it bursted out. Elder Jean. As Mo Yushin saw this old man, she bowed respectfully. The old man smiled and nodded. "Great. You're great indeed." Then he looked at Mu Xiaoyun and nodded. "How great! How truly great! You're indeed a 1 in 10,000 talent." Yunzi bowed. "Yunzi greets Tai Sect's Elder Jean." The fat man seemed to have just seen Yunzi and said with embarrassment, "Oh, if it isn't Goddess Hua. Hello, hello, forgive my old eyes." Yunzi smiled plainly. She knew that this old guy had seen her as soon as he came and just wanted her to greet him first. Then the old man turned to Mu Xiaoyun and said happily, "So you're Mu Xiaoyun, the genius Ice Lake disciple?" Mu Xiaoyun didn't answer anything, knowing that the man was from Tai sect. "Xiaoyun, this is our great heaven elder. You must not be disrespectful," Mo Yushin said. Mu Xiaoyun sneered. "Mo Yushin, watch your words. You're you. I am me. There's nothing between us. I'm from Ice Lake, and you're not someone who can call me Xiaoyan. Watch your words. Haha, this is fine. I like this kind of character. Prodigy, Mo, I didn't think you had a connection with the genius of Ice Lake. How great! Then he said to Ji Elan, you must be the future sect leader of Ice Lake, sect leader Ji. I didn't think Mu Xiaoyan was Tai's future daughter-in-law. Great. Prodigy Mo will soon become our core disciple. Our core disciple and Ice Lake's genius form a perfect match. When you go back, please tell Elder Feng that Tai will come to propose soon. Of course, there will be plenty of gifts. Ji Elan heard this, and her face changed drastically immediately. This fat man was too shameless. He was using the situation as an opportunity to take Mu Xiaoyan away and make sure Ice Lake stayed down forever. At this moment, Ji Elan regretted taking Mu Xiaoyan out. Mo Yushin, meanwhile, rejoiced. He didn't think his plan would work so soon. Mu Xiaoyan sneered. She didn't want to talk to her enemies, and just said to Ji Elan, Martial sister Elan, let's leave. Then she turned and left. Mo felt his head buzzing with pain. What had happened? He got up in a hurry, and as he looked at the 3 Jialan flowers in his hand, he remembered what had happened. He had been sucked away by a strong force which might have been the power of space. Mo didn't dare believe it. The power of space. If it really was the power of space, how could he still be fine? Under the pull of such power, even nascent soul stage cultivators wouldn't be able to survive. Thinking about this, Yi Mo's face turned very bad. He was sure that the poison mist was there to protect the garden. As for the suction force, that was a teleportation formation. It was a one-directional teleportation, which meant that the person who set it up was using it only to kill people. The person who set that up was just too bleak. Mo wanted to curse. No wonder this man had died early, but even in his death, he wouldn't let others rest easy. Wait, Mo thought, I should be dead. How am I still alive? Mo got up and immediately looked around. He found he was in a dull, gray dimension. Where is this? Why does it seem familiar? Mo frowned, but then immediately remembered what this place was. His spirit sense had entered this place before. It was that golden that in his dantian. This place was indeed a world. How did he get in there? Mo calmed down and started pondering over the matter. The reason why he'd entered this world was because, as the owner of the golden, when he was about to die, the half protected him and sent him in there. That's why he was saved. Mo rejoiced that he had gotten the 3 golden papers, or he wouldn't even know how he died. This world must be conscious in some sense. Although he never owned a pocket world, Mo knew that as long as one was the master of a pocket world, one could go in and out at will. But Mo couldn't. Even when he yelled out, exit, go out, he remained where he was. An hour later, after Mo had tried all he could without being able to get out, cold sweat ran down his back as he panicked. This was Bullsh *T. Although the world had saved him, he couldn't be locked up in there forever. Could he? Perhaps the world had a spirit which had forgotten to bring him out. Mo yelled, is there anyone there? Who got me in here? Get me out. But it was still nothing but silence which surrounded him. Mo calmed down. He knew that it was pointless to keep yelling. He stored the 3 flowers in his ring and then started searching for an exit from the dull, gray world. Mo went around and found that the world wasn't that big. It was at most a few hundred square meters. Other than the visible space area, everywhere else was gray, and he couldn't go there. In one corner, Mo saw a room and nothing else. Mo could only walk into this one room. It was very small, but it had some things inside. There was a stone tablet in the middle of the room with a jade slip. Mo scanned his spirit sense over it. It contained the primordial fortune chant cultivation method. Mo knew this cultivation method. He had gotten a small part of it when his spirit sense first reached the world, but now it seemed the entire thing was there. Yi Mo didn't look at more of it because there was too much information on it for him to handle, but the introduction still allowed Yi Mo to understand some things. Chapter 738. 3 gives birth to all. Chapter 738. 3 gives birth to all. I'm Mengjian. I had the 3 golden pages of fortune. Yet even with my talent, I couldn't cultivate the innate cultivation method inside the pages, the 3 birth chant. This cultivation method requires a full spirit root to cultivate it. What kind of logic is this? A full spirit root cultivator is a useless cultivator. How can this natural cultivation method be meant for a useless spirit root cultivator? I forcefully tried cultivating the 3 birth chant, and it destroyed my body. I won't give up. I will use the remaining power I have and write the primordial fortune chant on the golden page world. I believe my primordial fortune chant is the number 1 cultivation method. So what if they say it's the 3 birth chant? Pity I can't cultivate it. These 3 pages were created by the earth. I died, and these 3 pages will hide themselves in it. The fortunate one to get these 3 pages can cultivate my primordial fortune chant. If you do, you must not cultivate the 3 birth chant. Instead, you can give it to someone who has a full spirit root. When the right time comes, fight that person. Yi Mo threw the jade slip away and said in contempt, "This old man is talking *T. I am a full spirit root. Will I go challenge Xiaoyan after I learn the 3 birth chant and let her beat me to prove that your cultivation method is stronger? Keep dreaming, old guy. Even if Xiaoyan wasn't my wife, I don't think your cultivation method can be more powerful than a cultivation method born from the earth." But his undying will was deserving of respect. Were there actual naturally created cultivation methods? How powerful would such cultivation method be? But where was it? How come he didn't see it? If it was as the old guy had said, that the 3 birth chant was best for full spirit root cultivators, then wouldn't he fit the criteria perfectly? Yi Mo looked around and saw nothing but the stone tablet. Yi Mo thought and placed his hand on it. Buzz information immediately got into Yimo's head. From chaos, 1 was born. 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3, 3 gave birth to all. No wonder the 3 golden pages were hidden in the Tao Te Sutra. The Tao Te Sutra talked about this. After some time, Yi Mo woke up. So that was it. The 3 birth chant meant that 3 had given birth to all. From the information he had received, Yi Mo knew that he could only leave that world after reaching Qi gathering tertiary stage. But it would be hard to come back in again, and it would have to be after foundation establishment. That meant he could only come in and out as he pleased once he reached foundation establishment state. The thing Yi Mo wasn't happy about was that he only had the 4 part of the 3 birth chant, not the latter part. No matter what, with a way to get out, Yi Mo started cultivating. Yi Mo hadn't wanted to change his cultivation method before, but now he had to. He started cultivating the 3 birth chant. When he first started, he found out that he could indeed cultivate it without any kind of obstruction. As the 3 birth chant said, all things can be created or absorbed. Yi Mo was already stage 6 when he started cultivating, so he realized that he could convert his stage 6 power to cultivation resource and cultivate to stage for Qi gathering using the 3 birth chant. Yi Mo rejoiced. He hadn't cultivated much, yet he was already at Qi gathering middle stage. Yi Mo had realized that the spirit Qi in there seemed to be the same as outside, so he had to use pills to ascend faster. Luckily, he had countless herbs at that moment. Yi Mo took them all out and started making pills. As the herbs decreased, his pills increased. When he finished making a full set of Huang Ming pill, Yi Mo suddenly woke up. Since when could he make full sets of pills? Moreover, the pill's quality was top grade. Yi Mo then realized that the pill concocting method he was using was completely different to what he had learned. He had just so happened to use a different method. Yemo stopped in shock. He knew how hard it was to make pills. He had studied in Luo Yu for years, yet he had just been a normal apprentice. However, the means he was using weren't of an apprentice, they were at a master level. What was going on? When Yi Mo made another cauldron of qi-increasing pill, he finally understood. He did have a new system of concocting pills. When he picked up a herb, the attributes of the herb appeared in his mind. Moreover, he could tell when to put them in and all of their innate abilities. The three-birth chant, Yi Mo murmured. He at last had comprehended what the three-birth chant was. Three gives birth to all did not only mean that his cultivation method would develop its special techniques, but that it would also apply to other things. He could develop his own unique concocting method. Based on this, it could be foreseen that it would happen to formation. Ha! Yi Mo laughed. Meng Qian truly wasn't humble at all. If he had known that the three-birth chant was this powerful, he would have never said that the primordial fortune chant was the #1 cultivation method. That insolent old hag was fearless. Yi Mo sighed. He was sure that Meng Zhan was a very powerful person, yet very ignorant. Only those who cultivated the three-birth chant could know that if 100 people cultivated it, 100 different cultivation methods would come from it. The three-birth chant wasn't something static. It developed based on the individual's characteristics and talent. Knowing this, Yi Mo got excited. Although it required more resources to cultivate than the primordial chaos chant, Yi Mo was sure that he could reach a much higher state with it, even ascension into the immortal realm. Also, Wuwen Mountain had a spirit herb garden. Although he hadn't gotten to it, he would return for sure. When he reached foundation establishment state, he would go there. By then, he should be able to go in and out of his golden page world as he pleased. With this mindset, Yi Mo kept cultivating and making pills every day. He didn't know how long it had been. He had eaten all the food in his ring, so he could only eat food pills to fill his stomach and cultivate. Although Yi Mo had gathered a lot of herbs, having developed a new concocting method meant that he made them all into pills. Even the 10 cauldrons of big essence increasing pills. The normal essence increasing pills became completely useless when Yi Mo reached stage 6 again. Yi Mo couldn't help to sigh. The three-birth chant was really a resource-consuming cultivation method. But luckily, after wasting 80% of his pills, he finally reached stage 6 again. However, Yi Mo got very worried then. He didn't know how long he had been in the world. Moreover, he was worried that Mu Xiaoyan would go out to find him. He was also concerned that Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue would worry about him. He hadn't expected to spend so much time in there. There were 2 essence-increasing pills made with Earth Spirit Fruit and 5 great essence-increasing pills in front of him. He had to reach Qi-gathering tertiary as fast as he could and leave that world. He had to get back to Ice Lake. Chapter 739. Passed away. Chapter 739. Passed away, casting his random thoughts aside. Yi Mo took 2 essence-increasing pills in one go. Strong spiritual power started rampaging in his meridians, and as Yi Mo digested the power, it kept charging at the barrier that stopped him from reaching stage 7. With the strong digestive power of the three-birth chant, Yi Mo felt that the spirit power was soon gone, and yet he was still far from breaking through to stage 7. Yi Mo clenched his teeth and ate 5 great essence-increasing pills all in one go. Spirit Qi immediately started burning in his meridian and dantian. The explosive power of eating those pills together was rather horrifying for a Qi-gathering cultivator. Yi Mo was probably the first stage 6 cultivator in history to dare do that at stage 6. But with the absurd power of the three-birth chant, no matter how many spirit Qi there was, as long as it didn't burst open his dantian and meridians immediately, it would be digested. Yi Mo knew he shouldn't be doing something like that as a cultivator, but he didn't regret it. He was more worried than anyone else staying in there any longer. Luckily, the three-birth chant didn't disappoint him. Crack, Yi Mo could hear the sound of a barrier cracking. The chi that was stuck inside his body found the crack in the barrier and rampaged through it. Yi Mo felt the chi in his body get stronger and stronger. Yi Mo rejoiced. Although it had been a desperate move, he finally reached stage 7. Yi Mo stabilized his power and got up. He stretched his hand, and an extremely bright fireball appeared in it. It was more than a few times stronger than before. Yi Mo breathed a sigh of content at his power being so much stronger than before. He might be only at stage 7, but Yi Mo felt that he wouldn't have to fear even a peak stage chi-gathering cultivator. He thought about those 3 people whose power he couldn't see through in Hangshui City. Yi Mo should be fine fighting the 3 now. He had to consider things like this because he wanted to get revenge on the Tai sect. Exit! Yi Mo howled, as he didn't want to stay there for a second longer. As soon as the thought flashed through his mind, he left that dull gray world. Finally, he was out. Yi Mo felt like crying. How long had he been locked up for? Not good. Yi Mo suddenly remembered the Jialan flower. It hadn't lost its potency in the Golden Page world, but that didn't mean that it would be the same in the outside world. Yi Mo quickly took it out and put it in a jade box to preserve it. However, he knew that half a month later, it would still lose some of its potency nonetheless. It would be a waste to make a foundation establishment pill out of it now. Yi Mo thought regretfully, if only I'd left it in the Golden Page world. Thinking about this, Yi Mo tried to go in the world again, but indeed, he couldn't anymore. But when he suddenly tried moving the flower with his spirit sense, he surprisingly found that the flower was sent into the Golden Page world. Although he couldn't go in, herbs could. Yi Mo rejoiced. After putting the remaining herbs in, Yi Mo started to look at his surroundings. He found that he was at the foot of a mountain, and there was a small road-like passage. Yi Mo sent his spirit sense around and found that it had increased greatly. He remembered that at stage 6, his spirit sense could reach around 2 kilometers, while now it was 7 kilometers. Normally, 3 kilometers would be the limit for stage 7 cultivators. Yet now his spirit sense was stronger than even a peak stage chi-gathering cultivator. The 3-birth chant was strong indeed. Yi Mo sighed and decided to find a way out of where he was. But then suddenly he stood dazed. He found that 3 kilometers away, a young nun was laying on the ground in the forest. He knew this nun. It was that big martial sister Luoyin. Why was she here so heavily wounded? Yi Mo came up to Luoyin and put a lotus life pill in her mouth. But soon, Yi Mo's heart sunk. Luoyin's wounds were too heavy, and her life force was at its end. Even the lotus life pill could only keep her alive for just a bit more. Who are you? Your eyes are familiar. Luoyin opened her eyes and saw Yi Mo, but she closed her eyes again right after. Her face became ruddy, and Yi Mo knew that she was gathering her last ounce of strength. Even if Yi Mo were at the nascent soul stage now, he wouldn't be able to save her without some potent herbs. Yi Mo remembered how he looked and immediately took a face-preserving pill. Now that he was stage 7, there was no need for him to hide his face anymore. In a short while, all the scars disappeared from his face as Yi Mo used a cleaning spell and showed his original face. This time, Luoyin opened her eyes and recognized the person in front of her. She immediately rejoiced. It's you, Yi Mo. Am I dreaming? No, martial sister Luoyin. I came to the small world. Tell me what happened. I will get revenge for you. Yi Mo felt sad. Although he wasn't close to Luoyin, She was Luo Xian's martial sister and had taken care of both of them. Yemo put another lotus life pill in her mouth. Luo Yin signaled for him not to waste his pills. After a long while, she gathered some strength and said, "I know you came in. It was Martial Aunt Jiesun. She hunted me, and Martial Sister Luo Xian wanted to find you. Martial Sister didn't want to talk about you. She was forced to jump off a cliff. I ran away injured, but was stopped and beaten again. I ran here." Hatred showed in Yemo's eyes. It was that old hag again. She was too wretched. He let her go last time because he wasn't strong enough to catch her, and now she'd harmed Luo Yin and Luo Xian. Yemo felt regret. He should have found her and killed her first before going into Wu Wen Mountain. Yemo, little martial sister really likes you. She jumped off Shuangshi Cliff. If possible, go find her and bring her back. She said you had helped her realize her dream, and that she had no regrets. As Yemo heard this, he remembered the time when he flew with Luo Xian, that little girl who jumped off that building for him. Yet such a cute and beautiful girl was forced to jump off a cliff by that Jiesun. Yemo's heart was burning with rage. He wanted to go up to Jiesun and tear her to pieces right then, but he knew Luo Yin wasn't going to hold on much longer. Luo Yin's voice got quieter and quieter. "I regret not listening to Martial Sister Luo Fei and not staying at Luo Yu City. I regret. I'm still. Yemo, my family is outside Gontong City, Shifeng Village. My name is Shi Jingqing. If possible, take me back home and check up on them. Then give me to Martial Sister Luo Fei." As Yemo picked Luo Yin up, the joy of reaching stage 7 was gone already. Luo Yin finally became completely quiet. Yemo sent her into the golden page world and howled. He immediately shot into the sky with his flying sword. First, he would check on Xiaoyan. If something happened to her, even if he slaughtered all the hidden sects, what was lost wouldn't come back. Chapter 740, Outside Chan City. Chapter 740. Outside Chan City, although Yemo desperately wanted to go back to Ice Lake, when he got in the air, he didn't know which direction Ice Lake was. Just when he was about to ask someone, his spirit sense scanned a peak. There were 2 large boulders soaring high up. Was it the Shuangshi Cliff? TL note. Shuangshi means 2 rocks. Yemo immediately landed there. He found the name, Shuangshi Cliff, written on one of the big rocks. The other rock had Qing Shui sect written on it. However, there was no sect around. When he thought of Luo Xian jumping off here, Yemo felt bad. "Brother Yi, thank you for fulfilling my dream. Although it was just one night, I'm very satisfied. It's fine. It was just because I happened to be able to do it, and you happened to trust me. I just didn't want Brother Yi to be disappointed again. I was thoughtless at the time." He felt like he could still hear Luo Xian's words, but she was gone. Yemo was in pain. He didn't want to think about it anymore, so he jumped down the cliff. Yemo didn't know if he could still find Luo Xian. There was just grass and leaves at the bottom. Snakes, too. Yemo's heart sunk. If Luo Xian had fallen there might not even be a body to mourn, much less finding her alive. He expanded his spirit sense and searched for nearly 2 hours, but he found nothing. Yemo knew he couldn't keep wasting time there. There was nothing. The only possibilities were that either her body was gone or that she had escaped. But with Jiesun chasing after her, Yemo didn't think she could have escaped. Yemo went back to the top and rode on the big rock with his sword. Yemo came here to find Luo Xian. He left after failing with concern. Not long after, Yemo decided to go to a city. He realized that this was the biggest city he had seen in the small world. Neither Hangshui nor Wu were as big as this. Still, Yemo had to find where Ice Lake was. Yemo got off the flying sword. He was going to go inside when he saw in big letters Chan City. That woman was really pretty. What a pity she ran away. She was such a beautiful nun. Sigh dash. I saw a prettier woman than her a few years ago at Huangshui City. I planned on looking for her, but she ran away. That nun was already injured. Otherwise, we would have been no match for her. Yemo turned around immediately. He knew these people were talking about Luoyin. Ah, it's Martial Brother Mo from Tai sect. Hello, Martial Brother Mo. These people saw Mo and came up to him. Martial Brother Mo? Mo frowned, but he immediately remembered that guy called Mo Yushin. Those men might have mistaken him for Mo Yushin. You're horse shit. Mo found out that he actually knew one of them, Ma Shilong. Ma Shilong was dazed. He looked at Mo carefully and then pointed at him. You're not Martial Brother, Mo. You're your dash, Mo sneered. He could tell that Ma Shilong had recognized him. He actually isn't Martial Brother Mo. His clothes are strange too. Something's not right. The few other people had also realized. Ma Shilong was dazed for a moment, but then rejoiced. Not bad, kid. I didn't think you could recover your face. Where's that girl who used to follow you around? If you're willing to give her to me, I might let you live. Mo couldn't even bother talking. He raised his hand and 4 wind blades were shot. Ma Shilong's legs and arms were immediately sliced off. He struggled in terror on the ground like a ball. He was screaming, yet he couldn't die immediately. The 3 people next to him were dazed. How had he done that? With merely the wave of hand. Ma Shilong had lost his limbs. You dared to kill a Chan City. You're asking to die. One of Ma Shilong's friends reacted and roared at Mo. Mo sneered and threw at him another wind blade. A bloodline appeared on his neck. Then blood burst out and his head exploded into the sky. Yet his hands were still pointing at Mo. The remaining 2 men were clearly stronger than the previous ones, but they started shaking after they saw the means Mo had to kill. This guy had not only killed in Chan City, but also without any restraints. Mo looked at the 2 shaking men and asked coldly, "Did you beat that nun?" "When?" Yes, 2 days ago. We saw her on our way back from herb collecting. I'm a disciple from Shangqing Mountain. You can't dash, the man said shakily. Mo was bursting with anger. Now that he had met the people who had caused Luo Yin's death, he didn't want to ask anymore. He threw out countless wind blades, and the 2 shaking men were sliced like smashed tomatoes. Only Ma Shilong was still convulsing on the ground, but it was clear he wouldn't last long. The stench of blood spread, and people moved aside. A slaughter god had killed in Chan City. No one dared to be associated with him. Who would dare to kill in Chan City? 2 Earth-level tertiary stage martial artists rushed there. Even they felt a little disgusted at the scene. When they saw that the people killed were all from Shangqing Mountain, their face changed. Shangqing Mountain was just a 2nd-grade sect, but they were backed up by Qian Kuan sect. It's you, Mr. Mo from Tai, one of them said. Mo thought about the situation. In the end, that Mo Yushin hadn't died. He had just joined Tai sect. At this moment, a chariot was coming out of Chan City. When he saw it, Mo remembered that it was Goddess Sihua's cart. He hadn't expected to see it again today. Mo scanned his spirit sense inside. It was Yunzi indeed, but she seemed injured. The cart didn't intend to stop at all. When passing by Mo suddenly called out, "Goddess Sihua, please wait a moment. I have something to ask you." A cold voice sounded from the chariot. "Mr. Mo, I'm busy. If there's nothing special, I'm leaving." If it had been a few years ago, she wouldn't have even cared about a Tai core disciple. However now, the Magical Merchant Association was far weaker than Tai. She didn't want Mo Yushin to find an excuse to use it against them. "Mr. Mo, the 2 Earth-level martial artists weren't happy that Yi Mo had ignored them, but they didn't dare to get angry. Mo Yushin was a core disciple of Tai. His status was the same as an elder's. Yi Mo sneered, "Don't take me for Mo Yushin. I'm not him. Is Mo Yushin a Tai sect member? Great. I am going to kill Tai sect people anyway. He better not cross my wake." "What? And you dare pretend you're a Tai sect core disciple? Who are you? You're asking to die." No wonder he seemed strange. It was said that Mo Yushin was a gentleman. He would never be as rude as this person. Without thinking, they pulled out their swords and charged at Yi Mo. Yi Mo lifted his hand, and the flying sword landed on his hand. At the same time, a sword ray flashed, and 2 heads flew into the sky, spilling blood. My name is Yi Mo. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.